What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth. I am Mel, and joining me as always is my co-host and good friend, Ronnie Big Smooth Hennigan. Ronnie, what's happening, bro?
Man, Mel, not a whole lot. The weekend, I will say, overall was a little rough mentally, but hey, we know what tonight is. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, you
We
already
know what
know,
tonight
baby. You
is.
already know.
Dog,
You
dog
already
check,
know.
baby. Dog check, baby.
Hey,
Let's go.
hey, just to show you how serious it is, me and baby girl got on the same type of shirt. She had hers on earlier before she put her pajamas on. I got mine on now. So, you know, me and Munchie, we got this covered. We need all the luck we can get.
Oh, that's
And
what's up.
speaking of Cleveland, our guest for tonight is former Montreal Alouette, former Lehigh Valley Steelhawk, because I had to get that in for Chris and Leanne, and
Hell
former
yeah.
Cleveland Gladiator himself, the hardest hitting linebacker of the Cleveland Gladiators so far, because, hopefully they come back soon.
Hopefully.
Brian Brikowski, Brik, what's happening, man?
Not much, man. How you guys doing?
You
Oh,
see it,
we're
man.
doing
It's
great.
playoff time. Win or go
Hell
home,
yeah.
Yeah,
baby.
bro.
We've had a good weekend. That super wild card weekend. That first ever NFL weekend with 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. I've been enjoying some good football this weekend.
You know what? I'm a fan of this. I actually like this because every game has been entertaining, like highly entertaining. I
Yeah.
don't know what it is. Me and Ronnie been saying it all weekend, well, all season. It's been COVID, so COVID has been doing strange things. I like this format. Call me
It's not
crazy.
bad.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. So I'm thinking if Goodell is smart, he'll do something smarter and actually keep this format for next season because I like this and it's been generating entertaining games.
I agree. If you think about it, though, like think of a team like Buffalo, right? They were the 2 seed. So they have to play during wild card weekend. They got their first playoff win in 25 years. If their first
Man,
playoff win came last year, they're already in the AFC championship game. But now they're just in the divisional round. So for a team like Buffalo, you may say, this ain't so good. But for everybody else, the Colts got a shot as a 7 seed like they normally wouldn't have gotten.
hmm
And then you got another team in the NFC. I can't remember who the NFC 7 seed is, but they also
the
get a
whole
shot.
NFC,
Exactly, because the
the
NFC was trash this year. It was about the
whole
AFC really this
NFC.
year. You're
I
gonna
think
see
the
Hey
an
man,
AFC.
the
Whoever comes
Rams
out of
were
the
seventh seed.
AFC, yeah, and they actually won. They beat the Seahawks. That division was kind of up and down, but you're gonna see somebody come out of the AFC, which was definitely the dominant division this year, win the
Mhm.
Super Bowl for sure.
yeah, I agree with that. All right, take us through humble beginnings. For those of you that don't know, Brick is a Jersey man by telling by the accent. So give us what life was like for you growing up, high school, and things of that nature.
All right, so growing up, obviously, I started Pop Warner at the age of 7. When I first started playing Pop Warner, my dad signed me up. He wasn't a football guy himself, so football was fairly new to my family. My very first practice with pads, with a helmet. Football was so popular in my town that we actually ran out of chin straps and mouthpieces. And they thought, all right, well, Brikowski doesn't have a chin strap or a mouthpiece, but what's the worst thing that could happen? Send him out there. So they sent me out there with just a helmet, no chin strap, no mouthpiece. I went in and I rocked the running back, and I actually wound up biting through my tongue all the way through to where I had holes that you could see through my tongue, and I was bleeding everywhere. And I was 7, so I was crying up a storm, freaking out, blood everywhere. And my dad was like, "Well, shit, that's it. That's as much football as the Brokowskis you're gonna see." But I wound up like toughing through it, and actually showed back up the next day, even with the battle wounds on my mouth. And they gave me a chin strap and a mouthpiece, and wound up being the best player on the team. Was the running back. I was the receiver. I was pretty much a jack of all trades. Whatever they needed me to do, I would do it. And I developed a pattern of being a consistently good football player up until about 6th grade. When 6th grade hit, I actually also played soccer at the time. I quit football for a little while and decided to focus on soccer. And with soccer. I did really well with that, and I had the opportunity to take that to the next level and become a standout player in high school, but really had missed football. So I tried to get back into football. My freshman year, I tried out for the team, and I made it. I was the 9th string wide receiver. So I don't know if you know what the 9th string wide receiver is, but you'll never see the field. You'll sit on the sidelines. You'll cheer on your teammates. I was pretty much a cheerleader with shoulder pads. It was pretty bad.
Trying to figure out how. I just want to know, for you to be 9th string, how many kids was on the team?
We had
about
I'm going to say about 90 to 100 kids on the freshman football team. We had a very deep bench. It was pretty bad. And, at the time, too, when you talk about puberty and kids going through those changes of little boys becoming adults, I was one of the last kids to hit puberty. Freshman year of high school rolled around. Kids were hitting 6 foot and up, and I was still 5'5", 105 pounds, not really growing much. Sophomore year rolls around. I'm playing JV, barely, and where I see myself, I'm 7th string wide receiver. I'm not getting much time. At the very last game of the season, actually, they put me at punter, and I muffed a punt, picked it up, tried to run to get the first down, and I got tackled. The coach got pissed off at me, and at that point, I was basically like, yo, fuck football. I don't want to do this shit. You guys make me the fucking kicker. This is bullshit. I'm not trying to play football anymore. This is bullshit. I know I'm better than what you're playing me at. I'm not a fucking punter. I'm not a kicker. I'm not a snapper. I don't care. Fuck this shit. And the head coach of the varsity team was like, yo, just sit tight, hang out, just stick with the system, all right? So I kind of took that to heart, and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to prove these guys wrong. And I started to hit the gym after sophomore year quite a bit. I wound up getting a growth spurt. I was about 5'10", 185 pounds at that point. But the team still didn't view me as a potential breakout player or somebody that can contribute to the varsity team. So my first game of junior year, I played JV. I played a team called Southern in New Jersey, and I wound up getting 25 tackles and 6 sacks, 250 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns in one game. And after that, they were like, oh, wow, this dude's legit. Maybe we should start to play him on varsity. So I got my start at varsity and contributed as a tight end and a defensive end for the remainder of that season. They added me in where they could. And then it rolled around the senior year, and they moved me to linebacker, kept me at tight end. More so like a split, like a wide out tight end, kind of like an Evan Ingram type, where you're split out more so than a blocking tight end. And wound up contributing enough to the point where I was an all-state player, and I got to play in the all-state game and got a full – I had somewhere near 30 to 40 full-ride scholarships to D1 AA, mostly D1 AA schools, but also D1 schools. And I wound up taking a D1 scholarship to Akron University.
Okay. Now, my thing with you was, going through everything for tonight, what made you leave Akron and go to Monmouth? Because for those that don't know, Monmouth is a D1 school, but it's considered more or less a kind of an Ivy League-ish kind of school, because you're up in the New England area, Jersey, New York. So what made you choose Monmouth?
So out of high school, there was a couple guys that came from my school that were Monmouth alum. We had a couple guys, Corey Ingstrom and Mike Castellano, that were all NEC, Northeastern Conference, which was basically they were all conference guys, all D1 AA schools. And I don't know whose TV is that. No, I'm not.
I don't know.
That's throwing me off. So we had we had a couple guys from my high school that were all conference in that school. They gave me that recruiting trip. They kind of showed me the ropes on how the culture was at that program. And when I was at Akron, it felt right for a minute. But the coaching staff was shaky. Obviously, with D1 and D1 AA schools, coaching is always up in the air as far as the success of the program. So we had a great coach in J.D. Brookhart, but I could kind of get a sense that coaching staff was on the way out. The way that J.D. had gotten the job, as I was told, was that his father had made a big donation to the school. I mean, you can quote me on that because that's hearsay. That's what I was told. He wound up losing the job the year after I had left, and I had heard that the majority of guys that his coaching staff had given scholarships to had lost those scholarships. So I wound up leaving to go to Monmouth. Monmouth was close to home. Again, I knew guys from my high school that had been there that were all conference players that had fit the culture and had shown me the culture there. And it just seemed like a place where I could develop and grow as a player. Unfortunately, while I was successful on the field, off the field, I had quite a few issues. So I wound up actually losing my full scholarship there.
Yeah, don't take it to heart. We all screwed up in school at some point, and it's just how we are.
Yeah, definitely, man, for sure.
Become the star player, get laid, boom, lose something. So
that's all it takes
um,
sometimes, man.
yeah, unfortunately, but you bounce back, and in 2011, you make your IFL debut with the Lehigh
Wow.
Valley Steelhawks. How did you get that? Who contacted who?
So I was trying to think about that today. I actually can't remember the name of the scout from the Philadelphia Soul, but I met a buddy. His name's Matt Hoffman. I met him at a gym, a very random gym. It was a part of a church called Life Center or Word of God Church in Burlington, New Jersey. They had a gym and a high school attached. The high school is actually on a national network. It's on a national network where they play guys like I can't even think of names right now, but like where Carmelo Anthony went to school, they were playing
Mm-hmm.
like where LeBron went to school. They play St. Patrick's, St. Anthony's. Like they're not on a normal regional program where they're playing. They're a big time deal. So the coach there was actually Purvis Ellison, who is he was the NCAA Player of the Year back in the '80s. So he had this program rolling, and he was producing all these high quality athletes. They had this little tiny gym with this great turf facility. So I started going there. I met this kid, Matt Hoffman. Matt Hoffman was a D3 from Rowan University, Heisman finalist. I can't remember what they call the D3 trophy in
I
that
believe
league.
it. I think it might have been the Gagliardi. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that because
That sounds correct.
it's
But
because it's been a while. I ain't seen D3 ball all season.
Yeah. So he was a finalist for that award. I met him. He was working out. He's like, yeah, I'm trying out for Philadelphia Soul. So I kind of got to thinking. I was like, well, I work out with you. I'm bigger than you. I'm faster than you. I'm stronger than you. Why can't I do this? I play football. And I've been 2 years out of the game since playing at Monmouth. So he tried out for the Philadelphia Soul the same time I did. At that open tryout, they were calling us Batman and Robin. And who's the guy they made that movie about with the Eagles? Vince Papale. So Vince Papale was there.
Yeah.
He's like, listen, one guy here is going to be the guy that makes the team. He's going to be the breakout player. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, fuck yeah, that's me. I'm going to be that dude. Everybody else there is doing the same thing. Like, fuck yeah, I'm going to be that dude. So the open tryout comes. Again, they're calling me and this kid, Matt Hoffman, Batman and Robin. Our broad jumps through the roof. Our 40 times are excellent. Our vertical jump is crazy. Our three-cone, our shuttle, we're killing it. Comes time for the end of the open tryout, and the scout, whose name I can't remember, comes up to both of us and says, hey, so in order to move on, we're going to need some game film. We want to see what you guys have to offer as far as actually being on the football field. Hoffman being at Rowan, having a good relationship with that coaching staff, boom, he can contribute that film, sends it right away, gets an invitation to training camp, and he's in. For me, I hadn't played at Monmouth in 2 years. I did not really leave the school on good terms. I didn't really have that film offer. But I continued to type away. I was begging the coaching staff, like, yo, give me a shot, give me a shot, give me a shot. And they weren't really having it. But at some point during that camp, Hoffman wound up getting cut. I kept typing away in my emails and said, listen, just give me one practice. Boom. He gets cut. I fill in his spot. They bring me to camp. I remember the first one-on-one, because one-on-ones is where you make your money. The first one-on-one I did, the first one-on-one I did, I vomited. I was like, oh, I was so nervous. I was like, boom, let's go. I won. The second one-on-one, I won. The third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. I won probably 10, 11, 12 one-on-ones in a row until finally, like they just kept saying, go back, another rep, another rep, another rep, until they finally said, or until I finally lost, and they were like, all right, that's enough. And at the time, the coach of the soul was Doug Plank, prominent player in the Bears. Yeah, prominent player in the Bears 46 defense. And then a guy who I feel solely responsible for the birth of my career, Leroy Thompson. He's a developmental coach in New Jersey these days with these young guys out of high school. Leroy Thompson.
Ain't St. Rocks. Yeah.
He said, I want this guy on my team. So the Philadelphia Soul wound up signing me. They signed me to a one-day contract. Tom Goodhines, the GM rather. He said, I don't feel comfortable with this guy. His lack of experience, hasn't played football in 2 years. Let's cut him. So they cut me.
Wow.
After kind of touring around with me. So I was signed officially for one day. I came in as a waiver wire guy. You know how you do those waiver contracts where you come in for 2 days, you practice, help the team throughout. You're just an extra body. I was an extra body in Philadelphia for 4 weeks. I had that. They were promising me like a roster contract soon, they kept saying. And eventually Chris Thompson came to me and said, hey, man, why don't you make some money out of this? It's not much, but it's something. Why don't you come to Lehigh Valley, get some film, and we'll go from there. So him and Kevin O'Hanlon convinced me to join the Lehigh Valley Steelhawks, and they had a good program there. They ran that operation as best they could, given the circumstances. Not a lot of funds, the arena at Lehigh University. And really that was like the catalyst to jettisoning me to the Cleveland Gladiators. So,
right.
I mean, that.
Okay, quick update. I know I don't want to say this shit, but it just happened already. Bot snap in the end zone. Browns are up 7-0. It was a bot snap, got recovered in the end zone. I don't remember who recovered it, but Browns did recover it in the end zone. Pittsburgh has the ball now. They're driving. They're at the 47-yard line. So yeah, it's already starting off bad. I don't know what the fuck is going on with these guys. They need to get this shit together. Shut up.
Oh, you know I'm a Giants fan. Nobody cares. I pull for Cleveland. I love my Cleveland.
It's the orange. Hey, it's the orange pants.
Fuck them pants.
Let's go, Pick City.
Fuck them pants.
Ooh, what is that a
City?
Ooh, a one-hander.
Hey, I'm gonna need y'all to like shut up for real, man. Y'all are.
I'm sorry.
Being really, really rude.
My bad. I'm sorry.
I hope y'all stub y'all toes on the bed, man. Anyway.
I did that earlier.
All right. If I'm not mistaken, because I did. I was winding down in my career, but if I remember correctly, Lehigh Valley was pushing to make the playoffs just about every year. That they were, playing. So if I'm not mistaken, your rookie year, you led the team in sacks. And then from there, the next season you get signed with the Gladiators. Was Selesky part of that one? Because Ron was good for having his hand in everything. So was he part of that?
That was weird. It was 2012 that I wound up in Cleveland, and you never saw Selesky, but he tells me that he was a part of. He was in the background, and he told me that he was part of the recruitment that had brought me in, which I have no reason not to believe. I'm sure he was. It's just Steve Tunn was like the face of the organization, and then you had the O-line coach. Uh, I can't believe I don't remember his name, but he was there. You had well, football is taking a toll on my memory,
Don't
but
feel bad.
so
Do not feel bad.
Selesky was not on the front line there coaching. He was more of the background, like GM role, player personnel, working that aspect. So Steve Tunn is who I spoke to. He brought me in, but he was involved on that. And in 2012, when they brought me in, I believe I came in with 6 or 7 games left in the season. There was a cat, Jared Crittenton. His brother played for the Washington Wizards. They put him ahead of me. I think he played at Middle Tennessee. They wound up giving him the job before me. We both came in and did the open tryout at the same time, and they felt more comfortable going forward with him and played him at defensive end before me. So with those 6 games that I had, they put him in. I kind of sat on the sidelines and watched, but was still actually on the roster. I was just an inactive player. That game came and went. I don't think they necessarily liked his performance. So the following game, we were scheduled to play the Pittsburgh Power at home in the Q. I was again scheduled to start, but I don't know if you remember history. That was the very first game that a professional team ever went on strike and didn't show up to a game. So we had,
Yeah, because I remember that because my agent was trying to get me to show up, and I was like, "I'll do it. Just tell me who I need to talk to." And then next thing I know, it was like 18 different people showed up.
exactly. So
Yeah, I
I was
remember
I
that
was
year.
nervous as shit. So we had James Barron there, who was I think VP at the time. Ivan Soto was in our ear talking to us. Like we had, we had guys like John Dutton, who was on the cover of the AFL game for PlayStation. Tim Cheatwood,
One of
who
the
was
greats.
one of the greats, a legend in the Arena Football League. We had some very prominent players on that team, and here I am, a guy who's supposed to get his first start in the Arena Football League. Just kind of going with the program, understanding the significance of the event, and realizing this is our livelihood. We play football professionally for a living. We get paid a paycheck. These guys are trying to bargain and show their power and how they deserve more money. So they basically told me, stay in your room, lock yourself in, and hang out there. And what I did was I bought a 12-pack of Yingling and wound up playing Halo that night and locked my door. And lo and behold, that game was a nationally televised game on NFL Network. Wound up getting canceled because it was the first ever player strike on national TV. And that next week, we were paid triple what we previously were paid. So, I mean, that was my start with the Gladiators. However, the 5
I
games
mean,
following that, they understood, like, yeah, I was in an awkward position. I'm somebody who really had no say in the situation. I had no bargaining chip. I couldn't have said, hey, yeah, I want to play because I was a 23-year-old kid. Like, I got guys here that are almost in their 30s that are veterans that this is their livelihood. This has been their livelihood. I'm not one to step in and give my opinion. I knew my place at that time. So I think they also understood that. And for the last 5 games of the season, I wound up getting a role as a starter. And over that 5-game period, I had the most sacks in the league with 3.5. I had a pretty good amount of tackles, something like 18 or something like that. Forced fumble, I had a touchdown, fumble recovery. I had a really good streak there. ESPN Cleveland was touting me as a breakout player, and that's kind of how my career blossomed. Is just being
right.
a young guy, not knowing what the hell to do. Boom, kind of the
Just go
spot
kill
fell on my
somebody.
lap, and hell yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it
And and
was.
and here's the thing. Not a lot of people know this, um, because I know a lot of guys from playing indoor ball. I know a lot of guys. You know a lot of guys. But Ronnie, not a lot of people know this. Coach Time was actually a bruiser. He was a Chicago bruiser in the the inception of the Arena League,
He
and
was.
he was a wide receiver, defensive back, no nonsense kind of guy. Like I don't think I personally have ever seen Coach Tom smile. I don't know about you, Brick, but I've never seen it. So I could just feel like whenever I talked to Coach Tom, it was always like, all right, don't say nothing to piss this man off. He might snap and have a flashback from '88, might knock you into the wall or something. But
Bro, I was
but
always
that was
nervous. Whenever I talked to him, I was like,
yeah,
yes sir, no sir, thanks, coach.
yeah, because he never like Ryan, you've been around those kind of coaches, the coaches that are really no nonsense, don't
Oh
Just
yeah.
don't give you a lot, don't give me a lot of shit.
Nope.
He was
Yep.
one of those guys, but when you really get to know him, he was cool. Like he just stone faced everything. Like they would zoom in
Always.
at one point. At one point, they would zoom in on the games because like we would catch him on Fox Sports Net.
Hmm.
They would zoom in on him on the sideline, no smile, no nothing, not no yelling, and then they would zoom back, and then at one point, I could just remember Dustin Fox saying, "Do we have to keep zooming in on Coach Tom? Because I don't think he's ever going to show an expression." But that's just the
Seriously,
kind of coach he was.
no
Uh,
emotion.
uh, Another quick update. This shit's getting out of hand. Uh, who's number 80 for the Browns?
Landry?
Number 80, Landry.
Yeah, fuck Landry. He just scored a touchdown. 14-0 Browns. Still in the first quarter
Oh, whew.
after the interception. So yeah,
Mm.
So my
shit's
Cleveland
getting out of
people.
hand.
All I gotta say
Uh,
is it brings a new meaning
Ronnie,
to having bad juju.
Ronnie, if you
Boy should
don't,
have kept his
if
mouth shut. He
okay,
should
we
have learned
get
from
it. Shit,
Dabo
he been
Sweeney.
fucking up. We get it. We get it. He been fucking up. I get
You
it.
know
All
what?
right.
I dare him to do something on the sideline too. I dare him.
This is what I get for watching Rudy today. I should have knew something was bad was gonna
Oh,
happen.
you
Every
are,
time I
man.
watch
You
it,
are. You got
Shouldn't
to
have
every
see
watched
time I
how
watch
Rudy.
a sit, no man. See, Ronnie remembers this. It's a quick little story, but Ronnie remembers this. Our first season at Collinwood with Coach Shorts, and I think it was I want to say it was the Warrensville game. Get on the bus. Coach Shorts puts on fucking Remember the Titans as supposedly inspiration, and we fuck around and lose the game. Then we go on
Ah,
the move. It was so bad that year. We ended up losing all but one game. Like it was just bad.
that's rough.
But yeah, I should have known. I should have just not watched a sentimental football movie. I should have just left it at the program, and that was it.
Well, you
But
will not remember
okay.
those Titans.
And I remember. I don't remember you being in Chicago. I'm gonna be honest. I probably skipped over that part. But I met you officially in 2014, and nice guy. You, Willie Mack, Mario, Dominic. We had Dominic on a couple months back actually. Um,
That was a
Great
year.
group of guys. Yeah,
Hell
those
yeah.
those were fun times. Great group of guys, and we skipped to the 2014-2015 season. You get picked up by the Montreal Alouettes. Now we already had this discussion. I'm just going to be honest with you. I did not like those uniforms. I thought they were. Oh, you know what? Being honest, I always thought Montreal's uniforms were terrible, but that's just me. But how did you get to Canada?
So, again, how I got traded to Chicago, very weird, very random. 2013. So that 2012 season carried over into 2013. They cut most of those veteran guys because of that strike game. They brought me back because, again, I was a young guy, kind of just didn't know what was going on, kind of went with the flow. They wanted to reset the team. They didn't want anything like that to happen again. Ownership, Dan Gilbert, those guys, they said, fuck this. We're not going to let this happen again. So they kept very few guys. I was one of those fortunate few to carry over from 2012 to 2013. When 2013 rolled around, the team was fucking terrible. We started out
Mhm.
2-5. I was still producing. I was considered the star of the defense, if you will. ESPN Cleveland was touting me as like, the guy in Cleveland on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously being a Mac, controlling the defensive play calls for the D front, just trying to do my thing, carrying over my stats from last year. I wasn't doing bad. I think I had like 3 sacks in 5 games. enough tackles to go along with that to make me one of the best in the league at that time. But I had butted heads with a guy named Chris Cook, who, I'm obviously friends with to this day, but at the time, our ideologies didn't really align in the season. And came to a crossroads. We actually wound up getting into a fight during practice one day. The coaches realized there was two different mindsets to go forward with, and they had chosen Chris Cook's instead of mine.
Which was terrible.
They offered to trade me. So they traded me for this guy Hardwick and Joe Finnessy. Joe Finnessy had been in Cleveland the year prior. Those two guys wound up coming from Chicago to Cleveland. I wound up myself, just me going to Chicago, getting traded there. That season came and went. I produced out in Chicago. I had a couple sacks, a couple tackles. I wound up, being a starter and contributing to the team. We wound up winning the division, but ultimately lost in the conference finals against the Spokane Shock. After that, the next year rolled around. Obviously, it's year-to-year contracts for the most part in the Arena League. At least mine was. And 2014 rolled around. Selesky actually hit me up and said, listen, I understand you're looking for an NFL deal. If that doesn't come around, I'd like to offer the contract. So actually, after the 2013 season, I was with the San Diego Chargers in training camp. I was with the Green Bay Packers in November, and then I was with the New York Jets in December. So I was bouncing around from NFL teams. I thought I was going to stick with one of those, but I had always had in my mind if I didn't get that opportunity, then I would wind up back in the Arena League. Selesky offered me, the starting role in Cleveland again as a MAC linebacker. I wound up back there. And when I came to training camp, seeing Willie Mack, seeing Rob Rose, seeing Randy Colling, I was like, holy shit, these dudes are fucking like just the D front, because obviously that's who I deal with. I was like, these dudes are fucking legit. Like, we're gonna be a solid ass team. So I was very, very happy about being there. At the same time, I still had that mindset of, I always want to achieve more. I'm not gonna stop trying to go to combines. And so I had done the NFL regional combine, which was at the Jets facility in Florham Park, New Jersey. If you do well at the regional, you end up going to the super regional. This no longer exists. I don't know why. I thought it was a great tool to find different guys for NFL talent. I wound up doing the super. I know. I wound up getting an invitation to the super regional at some point in that 2014 season. That super regional was in Detroit at Ford Field, where the Lions play. And then I actually got an opportunity with the Detroit Lions as a portion of my time while I was with the Gladiators. I was in Detroit for a week and a half, 2 weeks there. So that carried me through to about, I think they were 9-1 or 10-1. I'm going to say, no. I stand corrected. 9-0. And I contributed to 6 of those weeks because I was gone for 1 week for the combine and 2 weeks with the Lions. So I was a part of 6 wins in that 9-0 streak. And then the first loss actually came when I was in Montreal. So I played a game with Cleveland, and then I immediately followed that up the next day and went to a combine in Akron, Ohio at the University of Akron, and wound up getting picked up from there to Montreal. They invited me to the rookie mini camp and actually wound up turning that into eventually a starting role in 2014 with the Alouettes.
Now, for those again that don't know, it's a disclaimer because believe it or not, Canadian football is just as good as the NFL. It just doesn't get the airtime that the NFL gets. And if you don't believe me, ask Warren Moon. The man has 5 Grey Cup championships and is arguably the greatest passer in Canadian history. And ironically, he's in both the NFL and the Canadian Hall of Fame. So, what was your experience like, with the rules, with the field, and the player interactions? Because we know the crowds are great. But what was your personal experience in Canada like?
Canada was amazing. I had the benefit of being in Montreal, which I would consider the only city of its kind in the Western Hemisphere. So it was Quebec is obviously a French-speaking province. The culture in that city, second to none. Football fan or not, whatever, you've never traveled, go to Montreal. I promise you that will be one of the best vacations you ever take. It's amazing. But as far as football is concerned, when I got there, Troy Smith, Heisman winner from Ohio State, he was our quarterback. We had Chad Ochocinco as our wide receiver. Colin Klein was a backup quarterback, another Heisman finalist from Kansas State. The pedigree of guys that were on the roster was surreal. So, Noel Devine was there previously. Kyrie Herbert, who is a good friend of mine to this day, NFL record holder for special teams, and a longtime vet. Chip Cox. I could go on and on about the pedigree of guys in that league. It was surreal to be able to play against that caliber of talent. Being able to get there, again, I was able to turn this rookie minicamp invite into a training camp invite, into a practice roster spot, into a backup role spot, into a starter spot. And it's all about right place, right time, as you would know. With pro football, it's right place, right time. My time with the Chargers, my time with the Packers, the Jets, the Chiefs, the Lions, the Giants. I would contribute that all to being in the right place at the wrong time. I could have been there. I could have been a contributor on that roster. I could have been an NFL player for a long period of time. Shit, maybe I could still be in the league to this day, given I was in the right place at the right time. But I was in the right place at the wrong time. So, it's just the circumstances of it. And as I say that, Cleveland Browns scores another touchdown up 20-0.
Yes, sir.
So far for you.
Yes, sir.
You know what? I should have knew what it was when Ronnie started that fucking grin on his face.
Yeah, you see him.
And I can hear the sad part about this is I could hear my mom, who's a diehard Browns fan, and I'm pretty sure my grandmother's who was a diehard Browns fan herself, rest her soul. I'm pretty sure she's somewhere around the house, just jumping up and down. This is heartbreaking. This is so fucking heartbreaking.
TJ Watt's
you
face.
Pittsburgh guys have had enough success. These Cleveland fans, they need this. They need this.
It's just flipping.
And I'm not
just flipping.
And I'm
Cleveland
not
started
taking any. I'm not taking anything away from the Browns fans or the Browns, but damn it. It's not supposed to look like this. Shit.
Not like this.
I did not expect
what? I will say, even as a Browns fan, I wasn't expecting this. This is.
I wasn't either.
It's
Juju. I was expecting defense. I was expecting
Juju.
defense, man. Yeah, for real. Literally.
We blame this whole game. This whole game getting blamed on Juju.
Yeah.
We need to whip his ass in the locker room at halftime.
At halftime. Ooh, that's just...
Yeah, that you know what? That I'm gonna be honest, I agree with you on that because I've learned my lesson from that. That's one thing you don't do. You don't fuck with the logo. I don't care who you are, what level of football you at. Leave. If you dance in the end zone, fine. You dance in the locker room, fine. Leave the logo alone.
Yeah. Speaking of which,
young guys, for you young guys, because I gotta get this out. I don't know what you guys are thinking nowadays.
No, go ahead.
But for you young guys who like dancing and like showing off, take a lesson. You're talking to 3 people who've played at some level of football. Leave the 50-yard line logo alone.
Don't touch it.
Just don't. Just unless you're going out for the coin toss, just don't even go near it. Before the game, after the game, if you're not on the coin toss, if you ain't on the field, leave the logo alone. Bad shit does happen.
Speaking of which, Brian,
it's a sign.
I gotta ask you, Brian, since we on that topic. So, how do you feel about the Ravens doing that to Tennessee today after they won the game?
So
they came out on the Titans logo.
The Titans did that to the Ravens earlier in the season, And then if you saw
Oh,
at the latter end of the
haha.
game, Lamar went straight
Mhm.
into the locker room, didn't shake any hands, didn't want to talk to anybody. So the Ravens had felt disrespected going into the game. I don't know what was going on in the Titans locker room earlier in the season. It must have been like bad blood that had carried over from last season. But
Yep.
they came in with a chip on their shoulder, and it showed, and that's why they won this game today. So
Well, I mean,
definitely,
I was thinking the same thing. Like Lamar is out for blood after last year,
oh, for sure.
We'll
so
see. I laughed because like I saw the report and they were saying, "Oh, it wasn't even about us disrespecting nobody. It was about team unity or whatever." I'm like, "Get out of
Nah,
here with that.
they were they were
Team
out for
unity.
disrespect.
Let's let's unite as a team and just be all over the logo. Then
I
Exactly.
disrespect.
mean,
Okay,
hey,
that's cool.
I'm gonna be real with you. Baker did it. You know, why couldn't the Buckeyes do it? You know,
Oh,
it worked
speaking
both
of which,
ways.
Oh, with that flag.
anybody? Oh, that's the funny part about it. So like, I'll tell you this real quick. So when we were in office or whatever, in my little cubicle, all of that, I have a whole bunch of, football stuff, like different pictures of different teams. So like I grew up in Ohio, but I watch the Bucks like when they play Michigan or teams like that, and I'll support them tomorrow, but I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan. So I had a whole bunch of stuff hanging up in the cubicle, and I got like different pictures of different Hall of Famers because people are like, "Oh, I didn't know he played for Georgia. I know he played for Georgia." So like they saw Hines Ward, they saw
No
Champ
Sean.
Bailey, they saw No Sean Moreno,
Hell yeah. That's
AJ
my guy.
Green. I got a whole plethora of people. Plus they've appeared in the last 19 straight Super Bowls, whatever. But here's the thing: I have a picture of Baker up there putting the flag in the middle of the O, hanging up in my cubicle too, and I have that on top of his Browns picture as well because I have like my Cleveland area and I got like different sports. So it's just funny we mentioned that because that picture's in my literal cubicle at work, staring at everybody when they walk by every single day, and I'm
That's
like,
a
"This is the guy you're
significant
cheering
moment.
for. This is the guy you're cheering for every week. This is the guy you're cheering for." Just to remind you, just to remind you,
I mean,
because they
that's
be
true
giving me
for
Well,
so much crap.
quarterback, but at the same time,
well,
Cleveland has an
Yeah,
allegiance to
they give me
Oklahoma.
so much crap. They
well.
give
Oklahoma.
To
me so
be
much crap.
fair, he deserved it in that essence because remember the year before Ohio State beat the brakes off of him at home. Now they're going out
They
to
did.
Oklahoma, and
They did.
Oklahoma gets some revenge. You know, Baker deserved that. I mean,
He just
because
said, "I do not
I'm
give
with
a
you.
fuck."
Right,
Yeah, I was just like,
right.
I'm like, dang. Because what's funny about that
My
is
fa-
the whole team was like, yeah, I don't know if we should do that. Everybody's like, whatever. Because it was jawing back and forth online on Twitter. I remember this. It was jawing back and forth. Everybody had something to say. And he was like, because he that dude. He crazy. He crazy.
He is.
We know he
He is.
crazy. We all know he
He
crazy.
is.
hey, but
So
hey, you know what?
you
My
need a guy like
favorite,
that, though.
but yeah, my favorite thing about Baker was the Kansas game. I'll be honest.
Oh,
Since we're talking
man.
about the Browns, that was my
Oh,
favorite
man. The Kansas game.
because
Oh,
I felt like he was right. You're not gonna disrespect me at the coin toss, when the whistle blow and the game come on, fine. You can say all the shit you want. We at the coin toss, bro. I get it. Y'all ain't won a game in like 40 years, but don't disrespect me at the coin toss. Disrespect me when the whistle blow. You know what? Fuck you guys
Pick,
too.
pick,
that's the
pick by
second one?
Cleveland. They got the ball. They got the ball at like the 10-yard line.
Oh my
Hey, just put Mason
god.
Rudolph in. Put Rudolph
Fuck.
in. Forget it.
Might as well at this point. I
That's not
mean,
even better.
you're about to go 28 nothing.
I'm telling you, it's that knee, man.
Oh,
Mel, look, Bree, man. Me
shut
and Mel
up.
talked about
Shut
this.
up.
Oh no, that's on the
Shut up.
receiver right there.
Yeah, that's the
Well,
receiver's
Yeah,
fault.
yes,
hit that
He
dude
should have
right
that
in
caught
the
too,
that.
yeah.
hands right there.
He should have caught
And
that.
who is that?
Okay.
Washington. Okay, all right.
He got the most
And
drops in the fucking league. Why did he even start?
Yeah, the
Anyway,
whole team did.
so
Cleveland ain't
what's
fucking around.
what's retirement like now? I mean, I know you ain't played in a while. I'm pretty sure you could if you really wanted to. But what's retirement like? Life after football for you like now?
So nobody ever expects football to end the way they expect it to end. In 2016,
Of
I got
course.
a pretty bad concussion with the Gladiators. I didn't know my future going forward. I still approached that offseason with my agent as if I was going to still make a run at an NFL roster because, again, I've had NFL interest from 2013 until 2016. So I still approached that in that regard after 2016. I wound up getting a spot on the Giants for a good portion of that offseason. And I had thought I was going to be – actually, let me backtrack. In February, the very day after that Super Bowl, the one that Peyton Manning won with the Denver Broncos, I might be wrong there. I don't remember. It was a Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure Peyton Manning was in it. I was in Kansas City at that time. The next day, John Dorsey, former GM of Cleveland, former GM of Kansas City, brought me into Kansas City. I worked out for them. He liked me. He said, okay, you know what? We're going to bring you back to mini camps. Instead, I went home. Instead of going back to Kansas City for mini camps, I wound up going to the New York Giants because that's the team that I grew up loving. And I was with them for a good portion of that offseason. I thought I was going to stick with them and be a New York Giant. They ran a 4-3 system. Kansas City ran a 3-4. You know me. I'm a pass rush specialist, outside linebacker in a 3-4 defense. Not really a there you go. There's a touchdown by Clay.
Man.
Too easy.
Hey,
First quarter.
Look.
We playing Madden
man.
right now?
It is
Are we
the
playing
first
Madden right
quarter,
now?
and it is 20.
Are we playing Madden right now? What's this, Madden? This is
Hey,
Madden
look.
21?
Insane.
This is
Hey,
Madden,
look,
this is Madden
okay.
21.
Check this
Oh
out.
my
Real shit.
God.
Real
Put up
shit. I
the
love
number.
both of y'all like brothers. Look, man. Real shit. I love both of y'all like brothers. But if y'all don't cut this shit out, I'm gonna disown the both of you.
No,
I
this game is just
not having it.
Man.
But anyway, I wound up going with the
Y'all
New
gonna
York
make me
Giants.
disown
New York
y'all.
Giants wound up cutting me. I went back to Cleveland and finished up the year there, which is when I had my concussion. 2017, I sat the year out. In 2018, the Albany Empire came around, and they were developing a team with a bunch of studs. They were building a championship roster. The league was small at that point. I think there was only 5 teams in it. It was an opportunity to win a championship, to get a ring. Late that season, their Mac linebacker had gotten hurt, and they invited me back. Not invited me back, but rather invited me to that team. I wound up joining the team. I played the last 2 regular season games, and then they had a round robin playoff game.
Yeah, I remember that.
4 teams made the playoffs. We wound up beating Washington in the first game by 1 point, and I actually tore my quad. They wound up coming back that second game and beating us that second game pretty handedly by 6 points, and that was all she wrote on my career. The following year, I was expected to actually go back in 2019 and play for the Empire. They signed Jeremy Richardson, who is a good friend of mine. No problem with that. And he wound up taking that job instead of me. And that was kind of it for my career. And after that, I kind of looked around for what I could do. In 2016, after the Gladiators run, I was selling tech software in New York City. I was the GM of a gym. I owned an insurance agency. None of that really benefited, or benefited me. It wasn't something I felt like was a true calling, and I wound up joining the Army, and I'm with Special Forces. I'm with the United States Special Forces now. So something like football, a great team atmosphere, a crazy challenge physically. You deal with some of the world's best athletes. They just don't get the notoriety for it. And, I couldn't be happier.
Well, thank you for your service, first off.
Yeah,
My
same
parents
here,
were
man.
in the military.
Thank you.
So, we respect what you do. This shit is really getting bad when your mother fucking texts you talking shit.
That's
My mom is having a fucking field day with this right now.
I'll be honest. I don't know if I've ever seen a more lopsided score in a playoff game in the first quarter ever.
Me either.
28-0
That's
with 2 minutes left.
But we know how this goes, man. It can't get comfortable because the
Yeah,
same thing happened against
For
Dallas.
sure.
yeah, but still, like you don't see this shit often from the Browns
No.
at all. And
Well,
I think
actually, you don't see this often from Pittsburgh because they shooting
that
themselves in the
too.
foot.
Yeah, that too.
That botch snap
That
just set
too.
the tone.
Lately, Pittsburgh has been pretty trash.
Yeah,
They
it's been
have,
pretty
but
plateaued.
I think Ben has a lot to do with that as well because outside of the botch snap, Ben should know this is not going to be an easy game. He should have knew that going
Nope.
in. As soon as the Browns got everything lined up, he should have knew. All right, I got to really sit down and stop bullshitting. 'Cause we all know you on borrowed time, right? We know it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but whatever.
No, seriously.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
know.
maybe
Whatever.
even more surprising is that the Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski is not even on the sidelines here.
Yeah,
He's
he ain't
under
even
COVID
there.
protocol. So I mean,
Him and Bill Callahan aren't there.
exactly that's
He needs to.
what makes this score even more surprising.
He needs to have coach of the year. I don't care what nobody say. If he doesn't get coach
Yeah,
of the year,
he don't get it.
I'm
That's
done with it. I'm done with the NFL as far as these awards go because that doesn't
yeah,
make any sense. He needs it. He deserves it,
yeah.
He
especially
does
with all of this going
exactly bringing a
on.
team.
Okay,
I mean, they've had a lot of adversity as far as COVID goes, more so compared to other teams this year. That's for sure. So I agree.
all right. So while you're with us, we got a couple topics, not a lot. We got a couple topics we're going to discuss. But before we go any further, I did want to take time out because I promised them we're gonna keep doing this for as long because they helped us out. Uh, if it does the overlay, okay, guess not. We're gonna shout out box bands. I had an overlay and it won't come up now. But
It came up
shout out
there.
to box bands. Oh, there you go. Shout out to box bands. They have a really good product. Resistance is key. Uh, you want to work out, want to get your martial arts training on, MMA, boxing, whatever you feel like you need to do. I've been using it. Ronnie's been using it. It's a great product. Get your hands on it. It's you feel better. We feel better, less stress on your body. I've had a lot
Hmm.
of fun with it. I'm exhausted afterwards, but I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I
Okay.
had to give box bands a shout out, man. It's just been real crucial in terms of my PT and everything. So, thanks a lot
You
for
know
the
what,
product, y'all.
Reggie? If you watching this, or if you gonna cook back in, go to hell. Okay. I'm looking at the comments, and a friend of mine, Reggie, go to hell. I knew he was. I knew it. I knew it. I think I used to work with Reggie. And Reggie is a really good guy. I just I was getting a whole bunch of shit working with him because everybody was a Browns fan, and every time the Browns would get stomped by the Steelers, I wouldn't say nothing unless they started it. I wouldn't say nothing. Now all I'm seeing is dog check, dog check. Here we go. You know what? All you Browns fans, I don't even go fucking with y'all. Okay, I
Hey, they
Oh
don't.
need
man,
this now. They need this.
I don't. I don't go fucking with y'all. Not only do I not fuck with y'all, I actually write for the Browns.
yeah, he does.
ClevelandSportsTalk.com. Shout
It's
out.
been very,
You can
very
see my
unbiased. It's been very
super unbiased.
unbiased.
Do you
Super
know how
unbiased.
hard it is for me not to say fuck the Browns in an article? Do you know? It's hard.
Yep. Even when he has to say that his team may actually lose the game in an article, in writing,
Man, in writing. So you know I ain't
that's
biased.
hard.
But anyway,
Yeah.
uh, we're gonna start off with the NFL, and the first part of this is, you know, who survived the first part of Super Wild Card Weekend, and we already touched on it again earlier with the Ravens and the Titans, so we're not gonna touch that game. But we did see the Rams, who did win the division, by the way, in NFC West. They went into Seattle or had Seattle come visit, and they handled Seattle. They gave Russell Wilson fits. What was your take, Ronnie? What was your takeaway from that game? Because honestly, I was expecting Seattle to come with a better showing than they did. So what happened that you saw that made it seem like this could have been a better game for Seattle?
There's a couple of things. So, first of all, I was kind of nervous at first anyway because Seattle has not been playing great defense at all this year.
Hmm.
They're just one of those teams that was going off of that new school field of like, hey, we may give you 30 points a game, but we're just going to have to score 42 or whatever the score is to win the game and control the clock. I felt like in this game they were, not able to do that kind of game plan to where they normally would kind of run things out or control the clock or put together 6, 7 minute drives, stuff like that. They just were out of their element. And I felt like a lot of that had to attribute to the fact that the Rams defense woke up. They forced them to do a lot of, unorthodox things or whatever on offense. And I felt like that was the biggest difference in this game overall. It was just cool to see that because it reminded me a little bit of watching the defense that took the Rams to the Super Bowl a few years back. So it was cool to see that happen again. I am a fan of Aaron Donald for sure. Just, seeing any kind of like defensive lineman shining or whatever was cool. So I will say that for them, that was the biggest difference. It was cool to see that it actually woke up where they shined a little bit in the playoff. You know what I mean? Where it counts. So, hats off to the Rams for doing that. We'll see what happens next week.
And I apologize, my mess up. Seattle won the division, hosted the Rams, and the Rams came in and won by 10. So that was my fault. Let me correct that. Let's just call it what it is for me. Okay, I'll say that. Just call it what it is. The Seahawks are in a beat up division. Everybody in the NFC West, just like the NFC East, beat each other up. So somebody had to come out a winner, even if it was Arizona. What I did not expect was the defensive side of the ball for LA to come alive as well as they did. You see the pick off screen, it went for a touchdown. You don't see that too often. I mean, you might see the interception, but for it to be for a player to just read it, react, and then sneak in, nobody touches him, nobody blocks or at least chips the block, snatches the ball and goes back for a pick six. That don't happen very often. So for me, I'm thinking, you know, it's Russell Wilson. You don't really count him out too many times, but he got sacked, I think, like 3 times that I remember.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't think the offense got in a real rhythm for Seattle. And as we all know, Seattle is a very rhythm-based team. And once they have the momentum shift, that's pretty much it. This is looking like it's going to be that year where you see a different set of teams in the championship, in the conference championship. You know, I'm expecting fireworks out of this, the NFC playoffs at least. I'm expecting a lot of fireworks. So we'll see how the Rams play it out, and we'll see how everybody else reacts to seeing LA. Washington Redskins. Now, Brian, I want your opinion on this one. The Washington Redskins win the NFC East at 7-9, get to host a playoff game, and they have to see Tom Brady's old ass. That's theory. In theory, you get to see Tom Brady's old ass. What you don't expect is for Tom Brady to move conferences, come to Florida, and play for the team that you did not expect him to play for. And he comes in there and pretty much steamrolls the Washington Redskins. I'm not calling them the football team. I'm calling them what they are. They're the Redskins. He come in there, they beat the Redskins 31-23. The plus side to this was Heineke, if I got his name right, I hope I got his name right.
Yeah.
Started playing in the XFL as a starting quarterback for the Battlehawks, I believe. Shout out to Joe Powell. And he goes toe to toe with Tom Brady, who's obviously going to be the GOAT quarterback by the time it's all said and done. But he goes toe to toe with him. Brian, what did you see out of that game? Because I know you watched it because you like defense. So what did you see from both sides?
Of course. First off, the New York Giants should have been playing in that game. Doug Peterson from the Philadelphia Eagles threw that game so the Redskins could be in it at 7-9. Even though it's way worse if a 6-10 team makes it than a 7-9 because we've seen 7-9 teams make it before, but I can't remember, at least in recent history, when a 6-10 team makes it. But that's just the way that division played out. That would have been the circumstances, but it's clear the Eagles threw that game. From that game late last night, I mean, so personally, I like to watch AB, Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown now has the same agent that I had throughout my career, Ed Wazalewski. Hell of an agent. If you've ever seen a more drastic change in character in a football player than Antonio Brown, I mean, you haven't. You can contribute that to Ed Wazalewski, I promise you. My entire career, Ed harped on stay off social media, preach football, be a team player first. He had set down a list of priorities that we needed to put in place in order to be successful. And for myself, I was a fringe roster guy. If I was going to make a roster, I was going to be the 53rd man. I was going to be the 52nd man. I was not going to be a first name guy on that 52 or that 43 active game day roster, you know? So he had this set list of what you needed in order to exceed in the league. With Tampa Bay, I really enjoy watching Antonio Brown grow back into that dominant role that he's had as a wide receiver in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen him and Tom Brady really start to catch fire over these last 5 weeks, including last night. And I think that's just going to be a continuous pattern. I mean, you know, we didn't really see much of Gronk last night, but Tom Brady's got him in the reserves. Is it Brate? That's his additional tight end? Cameron Brate?
Yeah.
So Cameron Brate had a pretty decent night last night. Mike Evans, who wasn't even supposed to play, had the most receiving yards by a Tampa Bay wide receiver in franchise history last night. Leonard Fournette, again, a hell of a game. So their offense is deep. Their defense, there's some work to be done there. Obviously, it's not the best defense. It's not like the 2000 Tampa Bay Buccaneers where their defense with Derrick Brooks carried them to the championship. But I mean, they have guys like JPP that can get the job done. On Washington side, you got Chase Young, who is clearly a superstar in this league. I think he had eight and a half sacks this year, was calling out Tom Brady and said, yeah, I want the GOAT. Let's go see what we can do. And they actually put some pretty good pressure on Tom. And that's not really because they dialed up the blitz packages. That's because the front four actually had quality pass rushes. And that's due in part to the quality players that they have on that front end. So, I mean, I thought Washington put up a hell of a fight. As far as, you know, obviously I'm a Giants fan. If the Giants had played against them, I would like to think that the Giants may have put up a better effort. But if I'm being honest with myself, I don't know if I can say that. Washington really, you know, Heineke came out there, had a hell of a game, 300-plus pass yards, 2 touchdowns. You know, McKissick had a hell of a game. Chase Young played his ass off. So, I mean, that was actually a very quality football game. I don't think a lot of us were expecting that last night, but that's definitely what came out on television.
Yeah, it was because I was expecting a blowout, to be honest. And you know, with Heineke, it wasn't a bad quarterback, but he's not known. You know,
No,
nobody
it's
knew who
not.
he was unless you were just that big of a football fan and you watch the XFL, you watch the Arena League and stuff like that. You know these people is. So, you know, watching him in action, I'm impressed. And if I'm Washington, I know I got Alex Smith for however long, but if I'm smart and I'm Dan Snyder and I want this to work, even with all the bullshit going on, I resign Heineke to be my backup. You let Haskins go, unfortunately. So now you got an empty slot. I resign Heineke and, you know, give him a couple preseason games next year, assuming they go back to that format. I give him a couple preseason games as the starter and let him see what he can do. You know, what's the worst that can happen? But that's just me. You know, Ronnie, what did you see?
For me, I don't think that Washington gets a lot of credit for the defense that they played this year. I think their offense was just so sporadic and all the changes at QB, and then of course them not really getting on the same page with their wide receivers. Of course, you had Jordan Reed, who was out this year or whatnot, because that's a huge loss for them, especially in the passing game with tight end. So I felt like with them, they didn't really have a lot of credit given to what they did defensively, especially against the pass. They ranked like in
Hmm.
the top 10 at one point against the pass. I believe overall they're like 15, 16, something like that. And they hang with a lot of people. And what people forget too is when they had a chance to play Cleveland, they gave Cleveland a lot of fits from the offensive side. They were like, okay, is this what's supposed to happen against this team? It's kind of the same look that you would see in a few other games that Washington actually won this year. And I think that was what, for me, wasn't as much of a surprise. I think offensively is where I was shocked, where, like you said, Heineke was putting up those numbers or whatever and keeping them in it and keeping them honest and forcing Tampa Bay to do what they need to do to get that win. So that game actually like being a lot closer than I thought too. But I wasn't necessarily thinking maybe a blowout, but I didn't think that Washington was going to actually win it. So it did pan out the way I thought, but I didn't expect it to really be like that close, you know? But I agree with both of y'all when you said how, like, Antonio Brown, the way he's just clicking right now with Brady. And let's not forget, that was Antonio Brown's biggest advocate when he was going through all that nonsense. You know, when he
Hmm.
first came over to New England, they clicked instantly. And with them clicking like that and him not having Gronk that year, right? Just
It
another
helped
thing, he had
out.
to find somebody else. It helped out a lot. It gave him that chance to build that chemistry. Him coming to his house, staying there, then working together in the off season, stuff like that. And unfortunately, of course, he had to take that time off. And then with Tom coming back, it's like, okay, well, AB there, go ahead and get him. And to have him with Mike Evans and all of that and seeing how they click and bringing Fournette in, that offense definitely got something to offer, you know. I feel like if they would have had maybe one better, you know, offensive lineman or whatnot, then that game is a serious blowout for them for sure. You get one more guy out there, they're gonna be a
I,
force, man.
I don't think it was a serious blowout. And here's why. Even with the added offensive lineman, let's not forget there was a time in the season where Washington was actually in the lead about 2 games in the NFC East. You know, and then the quarterback situation started getting shitty. You know,
Yeah, true.
the push to play Haskins more, but we got Alex Smith. You know, it Ron with and don't get me wrong. You know, we all been through it. Brick, me and you firsthand have known it. When a coach has to make a decision for the team, it's not going to be because he doesn't like you. It's because he knows this is going to work or it's not going to work. And in that situation with Haskins, it was either going to work or it wasn't going to work. And in this
Mm-hmm.
case, it didn't work. Haskins got silly and did a lot of dumb shit he shouldn't have been doing, especially during the pandemic. I don't know what he was thinking about, but
Yep.
you know, you don't put no stripper booty in your face without a mask,
Don't be in no strip
especially during
clubs
the
when a
pandemic.
playoff game's on the line.
I mean, you
Yep.
could
That's
be
true.
in the strip club. You just don't have your face in her ass all willy nilly without a mask on. That's just me.
Or don't let people
But
take pictures of you. I mean, you have to be able,
that
if
too,
you're that big of a
That's
celebrity,
the
you can
main
control the
thing.
crowd around you. You could
And
hire
see,
somebody to
and that's
say,
the
hey,
that too.
nobody takes photos of me.
Right,
Who's
biggest thing in
that?
this age of football. You know, the difference is that back in the day, you didn't have social media and all this other stuff.
right.
I mean, you had
You just
somebody
had word
trying
of
to
mouth.
sneak up, right, or somebody trying to sneak up on you with a, you know, a disposable and going to the 1 hour
Right.
photo. And by that time frame, it's like I didn't do what I did. I mean, that photo's blurry. You know what I mean? That's not
Yeah.
me.
You can't
You know
tell
what
it's
I'm saying?
me.
You can't tell it's me. I
Exactly.
can hard know it's not. You know, it's Photoshop or something like that. Because Photoshop was around,
Yeah.
and hey, it's too dark, man. It's too pixelated. That ain't me. Sorry, that
But
ain't
to
me. Now
but
you
to
got
finish,
Not today.
but to finish, but to
yeah.
finish my thought with this scenario that Ron Rivera had, he did what was right. I can't fault him for that because
Hmm.
the decision ultimately got them into the division. It got them into the
True.
playoffs, and the team was better for it. So moving forward, what I
Mm.
take from this game is if Ron Rivera can somehow, you know, keep Alex Smith for at least one more year and teach Heineke, I think Heineke can be a good quarterback in that system. He's got the defense behind him.
Definitely.
Maybe one or two more running backs.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Man,
gonna
I'm sick
see
of this shit.
you might
I'm
see
sick of
something
this shit.
special out
I'm
of
sick of this
Heineke.
shit. Yeah,
People
you are.
forget.
But
Do you know who mentored Pat Mahomes? Right, Alex Smith.
yeah, uh, yeah, Alex
Mm-hmm.
Smith.
Alex Smith
Yep.
mentored Pat
So
Mahomes. Look at him now, MVP, best quarterback in the
Super
league.
Bowl champ.
Alex Smith has
Yep. Super
all
Bowl
that
champion.
knowledge he has to pat onto Heineke. So, I mean, you could see
So
something special out of that.
Yeah,
and I
for sure.
believe so too because he wasn't a bad quarterback with the Battlehawks either. Let's not forget that. It's just people start looking at the XFL and start looking at leagues like the Arena League as those developmental leagues. I'm like, y'all gotta realize, even watching the spring league, y'all gotta realize those quarterbacks played at schools nobody noticed them. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
everybody gets to play at a D1 school. Brick, you didn't get to play at a D1 school, yet you've journeyed around the NFL. You've played in Canada. You've played in the Arena League. So it's
Exactly.
not like, it's not like these leagues and these teams or these colleges are just subpar. It's just if you on a big stage like Ohio State, who's got ample TV time, and I'm playing at lowly old Baldwin Wallace in D3, of course you're going to get more TV time. So it's only right that you pay attention to the TV instead of the guy you hear about who's lighting it up. Heineke, I
Exactly.
believe, has a future in this league with whoever he gets with if he doesn't stay in
Mm-hmm.
Washington. But if I'm Dan Snyder, I try to hold on to him and let Alex Smith mold him. Uh, two more games I wanted to talk about in the NFL: Saints and the Bears. Um, Offense was not there for the Bears until literally the last second. They scored a walk-off touchdown. Drew Brees lights it up again. Him and Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara almost goes for 100 yards. Brees throws for 265 and two touchdowns. Um, Is this the end of the line in Chicago for Mitch Trubisky? Both of you guys.
I'll let you go first, Ronnie.
Shut up. Shut up. Ronnie, I see your face. Shut up. Shut the
That's
fuck
why.
up.
That's why I wanted Brian
Just
to say
shut
something
up.
first. I'm sorry.
I can't
I can't hear
stand
you
you
guys.
guys.
I'm break up. Hold
I'm
on.
sorry. All right. All right. All right. All right. I'm good. I'm good. Okay.
You
All right.
lying
All
sack
right.
of shit.
You know how you like take a deep breath and your breath don't come back.
Man.
And
I don't know
Yeah,
what's
you
going
shut
know,
up.
on.
I oh, okay. I had to. It took a lot for me to not scream at that moment. I'm sorry. So
Shut up.
for me, for me in this game, it was one of
Shut
those
up.
scenarios where it's kind of like what we're seeing with Cleveland and Pittsburgh now. It's one of the situations where you already got a chance to play this team, and that can go either in your favor or against you. And with them, they already had a chance to play, Chicago during the season. And then Breeze already got that look against the defense too in that same game when I was like, okay, he a little banged up. You already are clinched to go in the playoffs and you're playing him. And I was like, I don't know if they should be playing him right now, whatever. They're going to make it, you know what I mean? But I don't know if that was just, smart coaching at the time or whatever they felt, but it just played in their favor because now he's already had those looks against them in a regular game. And then you take that into the playoffs and you're like, oh, okay, this looks familiar. I've seen this before, and him just kind of remembering where Khalil Mack is at on the field. Because, when you always get that one player that's like on your ass, you're going to know where he at. So, if it's a Garrett or whoever else, you're going to be like, okay, I got to know where this dude is at all times. And they made those adjustments and it worked in their favor. For Chicago, I mean, it's just been spitballing, man, like, especially offensively. I don't know what they're going to do. Um, they got, a decent running back, but like, I don't know what they're going to do on offense. That's just confusing to me to see what they're going through right now because I feel like defensively they've been okay. They're not like top of the line, but they're not like the worst. They're really in the middle. Like they're decent, but like that offense is just shaky to me. And tonight it showed because when they're on, they're on. When they're off, they off, and they were off tonight. So
Well, Brick, before you started breaking up, the question I had asked was, do you Is this the end of the line for Mitch Trubisky in Chicago?
Absolutely.
For
You know,
Trubisky?
everybody.
Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely. They've already had indecision
Really?
this year. Nick Foles
Yep.
started a couple games. Mitch Trubisky started a couple games. It's amazing that the Chicago Bears even made the playoffs. When you say Chicago Bears
Yeah.
in the 2020 playoffs, you're like, what? How is this possible?
Right.
Because this team has been so average, so subpar. They've played to the level of their competition when it's been bad competition and barely squeaked by. And then they sometimes play up to the level of higher competition, but rarely. You kind of, when you think about them being in the playoffs, you're like, they should just be happy to be here because nobody expected this. Even throughout I have friends that are Bears fans, and they're like, I have no idea how we're in the playoffs. There's nothing spectacular about this team. I mean, David Montgomery's a great running back. They have a couple good wide receivers. There's absolutely nothing special about Mitch Trubisky. If he remains the quarterback, he will be the most average quarterback you will ever see. Again, the defense, Khalil Mack, obviously superstar, but then who else on that defense can you really say is a standout breakout player? Their defense is probably what carried them through.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's hard because I can't hate on Roquan Smith like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, okay. So you've got those guys, but
just them two.
Then the collective few, there's really not much else to brag about as far as the Chicago Bears is concerned. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I would have expected the Minnesota Vikings to make the playoffs over them. And
me too.
Minnesota had a hotter start to this year, you would see Minnesota in the playoffs instead of Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
even
the
Detroit Lions, you would see a team or for example, the Arizona Cardinals with Kyler Murray. You know, they got a bunch of studs on that defense. It's amazing that a team like that didn't make it, but the Chicago Bears did. So I almost feel like there was, when you talk about the luck factor, a lot of luck on the Chicago Bears side. They probably had the easier schedule than the Arizona Cardinals. That's why they made the playoffs. I don't think if you're not a Bears fan, I don't think you were really going to pick the Chicago Bears to win this game. And again, this is going to be one of those weird things where you might see a team like that blow up next year and they try and get rid of personnel and players because they know this system is not the correct ingredients to make a championship team. So, I mean, even though they made the playoffs, it may be something that blows up in the offseason.
Okay. I agree with you guys to an extent. I don't think this is the end of the road for Mr. Trubisky. Do I think it could be coming to an end in Chicago? Yes. It was his fault that he left school early. He should have stayed at Carolina for at least one more year. You know, let yourself know how you're going to be as a quarterback instead of just jumping. Maybe that was a financial decision. We don't know. We don't know everything. We're not going to know everything. I do think there are more keys on the offense, even though that offense was sporadic. Let's also take into account 2 years ago, that offense did help them get to the playoffs again. They went, 11-5, 10, 12-3, 12-4, something like that. And then, you know, Montgomery, like you said, Brik, great running back. They got a couple wide receivers. And let's not forget the best kick returner in NFL history at the current moment, and Patterson is still with the team.
That's true.
So I want Mitch, as an Ohio fan, I want Mitch to succeed. The problem I'm having with Mitch right now is where's his leadership at? You know, yes, he came off the bench after getting benched, came off the bench and got the team back together. You know, now you make it to the playoffs. You have the shot. They had a shot to beat, you know, the Saints. The defense kept them in it. It's just where does in your mind, where do you say, you know what, let's go. I got y'all, and you know, get on my back. We're gonna do this. Where was that? I did not see that today. And I sat there and watched that whole game. I didn't see that at all. So
let's present this potential option for you. The Patriots have already said they're going to part ways with Cam Newton. Let's say Cameron Newton then has an option in Chicago. Do you consider that a better option than Mitch Trubisky? Does he Cam Newton on the Chicago Bears give them a better shot? Does that make them a better team than Mitch Trubisky? I personally would say yes.
You know what? This is
And we
funny you say
talked
that
about
because
this.
we talked about this.
We talked
We
about
talked
this.
about this when Cam Newton was a free agent, or not free agent, but when he was getting shopped around, he was out there. We were like, "What if he landed in Chicago?" We said that a year ago.
Maybe
And
last year,
and we
Mitch was a year younger, but now you're a year further into Mitch's career. That's a year further that he should have developed, and you're really not seeing any growth in Mitch. So you can then look to a player like Cam, who's been an MVP caliber player, and think, I know what this guy offers, and I kind of have a better understanding of what Mitch offers at this point, given this extra year of growth. I think Cam can give us a better shot.
I do too, but here's my thing with that. What do you do with Nick Foles then?
Eat that money.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
man.
in that case, since you said that, I make Nick take a pay cut, and I give some of that, tell him to split that with Cam if that does happen, because we love Matt as arena players. We know and love Matt. Shout out to Matt for getting the team to the playoffs. I don't think it's Matt's system. What I think is a matter of Matt coaches his system like he's still a player. So he's expecting Mitch Trubisky to know how to call this play, know where this play is supposed to go, and know how to run it. But you haven't seen that from Mitch. And I think that's where the problem lies in for Matt. Because if you go back and you look at Matt Nagy as a player, it's pretty much the same way he's coaching now. If you really go back and study that as a QB, all those times with Georgia and Columbus, and you see him trying to instill the same coaching philosophy with Mitch, I don't think Mitch grasped it, honestly. I think a lot of those plays when they made the playoffs the first time and won the division, I think those were, the supporting cast bailing Mitch out, because I don't think there's a part where Mitch has grasped that I need to take control of the team. But since you brought up the Cam Newton situation, I could see Cam in Chicago, and that's a scary thought. That is, because he has the defense around him, which is something he hadn't had in a couple of years, and
True.
he's got the weapons. He's got Patterson. He's got Montgomery, and those other two receivers, the young guys. So I could see that in Chicago working out. Not to mention, he actually knows the NFC conference, so that's a recipe for disaster if you in the NFC North playing against him.
That is true. I mean, bottom line, I would take Cam Newton over Mitch Trubisky. If you're going to ask me which one of those two QBs is going to win you a game on a fourth quarter drive, I'm taking Cam Newton just because of his versatility, because he's a better athlete, because he's more proven as far as the playoffs go. He's got a better track record. There's a whole laundry list of examples that you could give on why Cam Newton is a better player than Mitch Trubisky. It's just simple enough. Mitch Trubisky has not shown enough up to this point, and Cam Newton has a pretty solid track record as far as success in the NFL is concerned.
For sure.
Right. Okay, one more game, and then I got a topic. It's an NFL situation somebody brought up to me. But real quick, Colts and the Bills. Brian, you mentioned earlier, Colts get their first playoff win in 25 years. That's a long time. Was it a fluke, or are the Bills for real?
Oh, the Bills are for real. Look at Stephon Diggs. Led the NFL in receiving yards and receptions. I mean, I got him on my fantasy team. And I got a keeper league, so I'm keeping him for next year. But Stephon Diggs is the truth. I mean, Josh Allen has only progressed every year. I remember when the Bills made the playoffs last year, I was like, that's kind of weird, like the little brother of the New England Patriots making the playoffs. That's cute. Maybe they're going to have some impact against the team and maybe challenge a game. But as you've watched them as the season progressed, their momentum has continued to roll. Their defense is a little suspect. Watching against the Colts, their run defense is still absolutely trash. They cannot stop the run. They're knocking the teams that rush against them are knocking off 7, 8-yard, 9-yard rushes at a pop on first and second down, which is creating much easier opportunities for quarterbacks like Phillip Rivers, whoever they play in the second round. Because there's no bad quarterbacks left in the AFC that they'll face.
Right.
Regardless of who wins this game we're watching now. But I mean, it's
assuming
the Bills
assuming the Browns win, the Browns would be heading to Kansas City. Baltimore would be going to Buffalo.
So you got
Lamar that would
Jackson
be the next round
against the Buffalo Bills.
Ooh, Lord.
Yes.
Ooh.
Again, and you want to talk about a bad rush defense? Look at Lamar Jackson, 100+ rush yards, 100+ pass yards. Like, you're not going to have a tougher time as a defense.
Yeah, that's gonna be
facing someone like Lamar. I mean, that's the Bills' offense. I guess that's the big question then: is can Josh Allen and that Bills' offense compete with Lamar Jackson? It's not one of those traditional defense win championships type of playoff games. Which offense is going to score more points? Because the defense is not carrying either one of those teams.
Yep. It's exactly the same way it was when Cleveland played the Ravens that last game. It's the same scenario because you're sitting here like, okay, the Browns, yes, they had a better run defense than the Bills this year, but when you're facing Lamar, you have to account for that dude as an extra back. And on top of that, can't necessarily put like a QB spy out there or anything like that because you leave the open up for the tight end because he's gonna look for Andrews like every play. That's just what he does. Every freaking play. So the thing is, like with that, it does make that situation a little bit harder for them. I feel like where the struggle is or what gives an edge on offense for the Bills is, let's not forget, Stephon Diggs is definitely shredding it up, and it was cool to be able to see him and Allen finally click this last half of the season. But we can't forget about John Brown, man. John Brown is that dude. Like, he hasn't been utilizing him as much because of Diggs' arrival, but I do feel like that's that other deep threat that you have. We saw what he did when he was in Baltimore, right? The dude can burn, you know what I'm saying? And you have to account for that, man, because if you don't, he's going to get the ball like he did these last couple games and show up against that secondary. I feel like they got two burners on the outside. It's going to do their thing. But it's just going to be a question of, can you throw up more points? Like you said, can you throw up more points? But the weapons is there. So it's going to be a good game, man. It's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to that one. I definitely am.
Okay. I think the Bills are for real. I am on board with Buffalo being a legit threat in the playoffs this year. But being that this is Josh Allen's first trip to the playoffs, because remember, when the Bills made the playoffs last year, it was Tyrod Taylor. So it's a different aspect. It's a very different aspect with Taylor and Allen. Yes, Tyrod was the better natural athlete, but Allen, the more complex passer, and he can run. He's a tough runner. So my thing is, if this plays out the way that it does, the Browns end up going to the Chiefs, and Baltimore ended up going to Buffalo. The question for me is not who can score more points. The question for me is going to be who's going to be able to keep who off the field the longest. Because you watch today, and I've been saying this all season. If you stop Derrick Henry with the Titans and you make Tannehill throw the ball, he's playing from behind. The Ravens held Derrick Henry to, I believe, like between 50 and 60 yards rushing today. And every time Derrick Henry has been held below 100 yards, they've lost.
They lost every single one.
Case in point today. Derrick Henry don't get 100 yards, the team loses. Ravens, we already know, have arguably the best run defense in the playoffs. Not the league, this year's playoffs. If you stop the 2,000-yard rusher who had plenty of momentum coming into this game, and he doesn't get anything. He gets 65, 50 yards, and you make his quarterback try to beat you, which is the best thing for you to do against a team like the Titans. if the Ravens go into Buffalo and they keep Josh Allen on the sideline, that spells trouble for the Bills because if they can't score by being on the field, you can't play. The Bills are not a play from behind team,
True.
and
That
I
is true.
feel as if I feel as if, and John Harbaugh, give this man some credit because he is definitely not his brother coaching that team up north. John Harbaugh
That's
comes up
true.
with great. He comes up with great defensive schemes with his defensive staff. So I would be curious to see what they do if they have to go to Buffalo, which I'm thinking, assuming the game plays out the way that it does. If they expect to go to Buffalo next week, I'm interested in seeing what Harbaugh does to counter Josh Allen being on the field. What do you do offensively to keep him off the field? When he's on the field, what are you going to do to force him to make bad decisions with the ball? But this is why you play the game.
True.
I just think Buffalo has too many weapons. I mean, you talk about John Brown. You talk about perhaps one of the best players on offense this year in Stephon Diggs. You got Davis, who yesterday made it almost felt like the entire drive on one occasion. He went down the field and made tiptoe catches along the sideline, and every one of those plays was reviewed as you went down the field. So you have him.
Right.
Davis as an excellent receiver. Stills, who is coming off of injured reserve, I believe, or the injury list. Singletary out of the backfield. So the Bills are not short of weapons. It's a matter of can Baltimore stop all of those weapons? I think that's the big answer. And then Josh Allen is super underrated on his feet. He is definitely a scrambling quarterback. Maybe not as good as Lamar Jackson, but still not bad. Oh, you got some life there?
Yes. Thank you. James Conner. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, James. Stand up guy.
There's some breathing room there.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I wanted to bring this up before we go to our last topic because somebody inboxed me today and said that they wanted this was their wish list. And the wish list goes as this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading this just as it was sent to me, just a prediction and wish list because we were talking about the NFL. He said, when will the NFL realize they need more teams? And his wish list goes as such. Portland, San Antonio, Oakland, Virginia, Orlando, Sacramento, San Jose, and Columbus. Now, the question I asked him, because outside of the two that we already know about, which is San Antonio and Oakland, I asked him, where are you going to play these teams? Where are you going to put these teams? Because as much as I would like and love NFL expansion, I don't see that happening because his theory was put them in college teams until they can get a stadium built. And then he threw a special one in there. He threw Hawaii in there as a last part of the wish list. But my question still remained, which was where would you put these teams and how would you do that? Like geographically, how does it work? I didn't get an answer. I like to hear your thoughts, Ronnie and Brik. I like to hear what y'all genuinely think. And for you, Ronnie, this came from the same dude who sent me the last stuff we had talked about last week.
Oh, okay. Got you.
But I still wanted to hear you guys' thoughts.
Here's my thing. I'm not sure how much of an expansion you could do if that were a thing. I feel like if you are going to do that, of course, it would be a minimum of 8 teams because you have to pretty much add one team to each division. But my thing is that even with doing so, like you said, the locations are kind of weird. And when you mentioned Columbus, that threw me off because I don't believe that's something that Ohio State is going to allow. Like they run it down here. It's like, because me being in Columbus now, I can tell you, having another team to compete for, fandom or airtime or just, have some other kind of buzz other than Buckeye football, That's just not going to happen. Because, of course, okay, I get it. You know, you had like the Destroyers with the arena team and everything, and that was great. People loved those Destroyers or whatever. Um, but you still wasn't hitting that same level of like Ohio State, and to have an NFL team to be in the same sit. No, man, that's just not good. They're not going to allow that. It would be because the thing is they have enough avenues and they have enough, funding and different ways of making money already. I feel like for them it's too much of a risk. Just seeing how they take care of their players, they wouldn't do the same thing that let's say like a Pittsburgh would do, where you're sharing the field with the Panthers or whatever, and it's all like choppy and stuff like that. But they have one of the best ground people or ground teams, I should say, in the league because of that, since you were sharing with a college team. But that's not something that I think Ohio State is willing to risk or to put their program through. I think that's just not something that they would do ever. Bringing them here to actually, have a team play opposite them, opposite weeks, and all of that. That just wouldn't work. I couldn't even tell you or where to think to begin to put them geographically in terms of where they should be playing at or who they should be with. So for me, that's a hard no. I don't think that's going to happen. It's a nice gesture, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Brick, what about you?
Logistically speaking, you can throw Hawaii right out the door. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
I was trying to be nice.
You
No,
could put
don't
them
be
in the
nice.
NFC North. They could play a schedule against San Francisco, Seattle, Arizona, and fly to all these West Coast teams. But you got to remember that's still 5 hours difference from one time zone to the next. Flights, practices, the way that time zones have a difference on a player's body during game week. You've flown from East Coast to West Coast and played a team and been all fucked up, like thinking you're playing.
Yeah.
You're playing at 8 p.m., but really East Coast time it's 11, and your body's like, I'm fucking tired.
Right, I want to sleep.
Yeah. I mean,
man, just going to Chicago take a toll on you.
Yeah, even just 1 hour. So you're talking about that factor plus. Being in Hawaii, I don't know if it would have a consistent draw. Sure, maybe you'd sell out a 50,000 person stadium every once in a while, but I don't think Hawaiians are naturally drawn to football. The Pro Bowl's cool. Thanks. 1 game a year. We're good with that. I don't even think that sells out. So financially speaking, that would be a bust. Throw Hawaii out the door. Then you mentioned Oakland and San Jose. Sure, a team on the north side of the bay would be great. They just lost Oakland, who went to Las Vegas. Where is that allegiance, though? Do those people in Oakland still want to be Raiders fans? Because Oakland has a very unique fan base in that, the Raiders, they have that Star Wars niche. It's kind of the Mark Davis weirdo brand of NFL fan. So can you really convert new fans to a San Jose or Oakland franchise? I don't know. And would the NFL be biting its own tail by biting into that market from Las Vegas, trying to put a team back in that area? Probably. So you're probably not going to put a team in that area either. As far as San Antonio is concerned, if you look at the middle of the country, St. Louis could use another team. St. Louis had a great fan.
That's a good one.
They could probably use an NBA team as well. San Antonio is not a bad option. They have great fandom there with the basketball team, the Spurs. So if you look at those two locations, sure, I think that you could have successful NFL franchises in St. Louis as well as San Antonio. Virginia is intriguing. Virginia has no professional sports teams whatsoever. They kind of nip at the heels of the Washington franchises. So you got your Redskins fans, you got your Ravens fans that bleed into Virginia. The Washington Wizards are there, the Washington Nationals, but nothing is truly Virginia. If you found a team and put a true sports team in Virginia, I think that it could be successful. Given that there's already 2 big major metropolitan areas in that area, if you put a third in Virginia and people had something to have Virginia pride to kind of lean on, I think that could be successful. Other than that, as far as expansion franchises, this the extreme northeast of the country, north of New England, there's really You don't find many football fans up there. I mean, I played in Montreal. It was tough. I mean, it was tough. We sold out games, but our stadium in Montreal, in comparison to the rest of the Canadian Football League, was significantly smaller. So, football fandom up there is kind of scarce as far as the Midwest countries, the Bible Belt. I guess if you want to call it the Bible Belt of Canada. And then outside of those areas, you're talking St. Louis and San Antonio. I don't know, man. I don't think without biting itself in the tail that the NFL could get a franchise and make significant money off of it, especially given this whole COVID-19 thing with stadiums not being able to sell out tickets. Obviously, tickets are like $100 a pop. Plus, you go to the stadium, you buy concessions, $8 hot dogs, $12 beers. Like that's where they make their money from. So that money ain't rolling in. I don't know.
Okay.
Touchdown.
Shut up. Anyway, I was with him with two cities. I was with him with Oakland, and I was with him with San Antonio, because one, they're already professional areas you could put these two teams in. You still got the stadium out in Oakland, even though it's old, decrepit. Oakland Amadea County Coliseum is still there. The A's still play there for the time being, but it's still viable enough that you could put a pro team there. In San Antonio, you got the Alamo Dome. We all know, for those who haven't been there and for those who have been there, the Alamo Dome is more than suitable. UTSA plays there. They don't even sell that place out. That place is so big. And let's not forget, the San Antonio Talons were there as an arena team and couldn't sell that place out because it's that big. So putting a pro team there, you already got the Alamo Bowl there. So, yeah, I think that could work. Now, as far as where he said Orlando, I don't think will work just off the basis that it's too close to Tampa. And you played in the Arena League, Brik, you hear more about the war on I-4 than you hear about any other rivalry in the Arena League outside of Cleveland and Chicago. So, I don't think you get enough of a fan base there because you got the Golden Knights and UCF. And like I said, you're too close to Tampa. Portland, not so sure about that. I don't even think they really care about the Trailblazers, to be honest.
Nope.
San Jose, the Sacramento area, I don't know. I don't know because, they don't even pay attention to the school down there. Like San Jose State just had the best season they've ever had as a college football team, and like nobody cared. And I'm not saying they didn't care, but because school spirit is there. But what else is there? And then San Jose, you already got the Sharks. You had the SaberCats arena team, and the SaberCats were like it outside of the Sharks. They were lighting it up. Ronnie, we already agree on Columbus. It ain't happening. Not ever.
Nope.
I mean,
never.
Maybe if this was 1920, cool. But this is 2020. It ain't happening. Don't count on it. I'm sorry, Columbus fans, but if you was pushing for a pro team in Columbus, don't count on it. Don't hold your breath. Save yourself. And as far as Hawaii goes, I hope he's watching, or I hope he will watch this, because here's a little history lesson. There was actually a professional football team in Hawaii called the Hawaiians. Unfortunately, that team only lasted 3 years. The World Football League, the Hawaiians were an actual team. The problem with that is, like you said, logistically, who the fuck is coming to Hawaii outside of a vacation? Nobody. Let's just be honest. And as much, and my kids are Samoan. My youngest 2 children are Samoan. So, Brik, believe it or not, there is a big football fan base there, but it's more directed towards high schools and the university. The problem with that is now, because he said he put him at the stadium with the Pro Bowl. Yeah, you could do that, but the stadium is about to be condemned. Well, it is condemned. It's about to be torn down. So you can say goodbye to Aloha Stadium. And from what I've read and from what I've heard, the new stadium won't be built because of COVID. The new stadium won't be finished till 2023, 2024.
Damn.
And the next
Wow.
closest stadium that's college built or college suitable, one is going to drop University of Hawaii down to maybe D2 because of, you know, you have to have a certain amount of fans in your stadium. So that's
Yep.
probably going to drop them down to D2, if not FCS. And on top of that, it's on another island.
Wow.
The Aloha Stadium was in Honolulu. This stadium, I believe, is in Oahu or Kauai. I believe it's Oahu. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
That's
But
crazy.
either way, it's on another island. So you're putting yourself at a disadvantage already, even if you wanted to. Aloha Stadium is about to be gone. The next closest stadium is only holding 20,000 people. So
That's dumb.
you can kiss pro football in Hawaii bye bye unless they bring back the Pro Bowl back to Hawaii. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But
But
to
yeah.
answer your question, Andrew, yes, there was a pro team, a pro football team in Hawaii. It did not last long. Logistically, it's not going to work. 5 hour difference. That plane flight is going to be a bitch. You'd have to leave Monday to get your body right for Sunday. I mean, you'd have if you're an NFC West team and y'all are all in the same division, that would mean you'd have to leave Monday, practice all week, get your body right, and then play Sunday, and then come back. That's too much on the body.
Oh yeah.
Because I like Brick said, going to the West Coast. I know you guys had trips against to go play the Rattlers and then go play San Jose. That shit, a 3 hour difference is a bitch.
That sucked.
Just I know for me, just playing in Chicago would suck because I'm going in thinking it's an 8 o'clock game. Yeah, it's an 8 o'clock game, but we're playing at 7. I can't deal with that. That's too much. So, you know, as much as I would love the expansion, it has to make sense because even with uh the new logistic expansion that Josh had sent us, Ronnie, for the NBA, remove the
Yeah.
Cavs in another division and put them against Washington and Charlotte. I was like, dude, that doesn't make sense. It didn't. You saw the map, Ronnie, and Rick, we not being funny when you say he had the lineup that they had with this new
Yeah. That
expansion,
was,
putting the team in Vegas and moving Milwaukee to the Eastern Conference. It put the Cavs in the division with the Wizards and the Hornets and such. It didn't make sense.
no,
That meant,
absolutely
and
not.
I asked him, I said, so you're gonna make the Cavs fly all the way to Charlotte when they can easily go 3 hours to Detroit, 1 hour to Chicago, 1.5 hours to Indianapolis. Like, why? That doesn't make sense. That expansion I'm not for. But if you're gonna make it make sense, cool.
If we're
It's
talking NBA, the only thing that I can logistically see possible is if you take two teams, you put one in Seattle where the Sonics used to be. You see one team in Las Vegas, which is the other proposed franchise expansion. You put those in the West Coast, and then you move Minnesota and Memphis into the Eastern Conference. That kind of makes sense. Other than
I would
that,
also
though,
put I would also put Milwaukee in that because Milwaukee's in the Midwest. I don't know why people just assume. Yeah, granted, it's on the second half of the Midwest, but still, if you're gonna do that, put Minnesota, put Milwaukee, keep Vegas and Seattle in that division on the Western Conference, and then you could even put Memphis in the South if you really wanted to. That's just my
yeah.
opinion. I would do that. But who knows? Who knows? Ronnie went to go switch his contraption. But with that being said, we're actually going to jump to our last topic because you being a college football player yourself, me being a junior college football player myself, and Ronnie being a somewhat of a nice guy in college, NCAA football. You, I know for a fact, have been following the playoffs very well. You saw Alabama throttle Notre Dame.
Yeah, that was bad.
You saw Clemson. You saw Ohio State get revenge against Clemson. What were your thoughts on that before we go any further? What were your thoughts on those two games?
I think that Notre Dame Alabama game was something anybody that follows sports could see, even if you don't follow sports that closely. Notre Dame sucks in bowl games, especially big bowl games. They've had a track record back like the last 25 years where they've gotten blown out in every major bowl game. And it's Alabama we're talking about. Not just any Alabama, the Nick Saban era Alabama. So, I mean, you got three guys that are potential Heisman finalists, one that actually does win the Heisman at wide receiver, and Devontae. But everybody could see that was going to happen. Boom. Like, easy, cut and dry. Notre Dame didn't stand a chance. That's why teams didn't even, or people and fans rather, didn't want Notre Dame to make the playoffs. It's because you knew, all right, maybe Georgia has a chance. Maybe Florida, if somehow they get has a chance. Maybe A&M has a chance somehow. But everybody knew Notre Dame was going to have a chance. The Clemson game was intriguing because, damn, I always draw blanks when I need to remember the names. Dabo Swinney, coaching Clemson, he had the audacity to rank Ohio State outside the top 10 in college football, put them at 11. And
Yeah,
when he did
that.
so, he said, yeah, they only played 6 games. A team that doesn't play that much, how can they possibly be in the top 10? And then they went and got smoked by Fields and Ohio State. So it was kind of cool to see. It was also kind of cool to see how Trevor Lawrence would react in a losing situation, given that he's lost 4 times since his senior year of high school. His game was okay. Let's see how that translates to the NFL. A lot of people are talking about him as the number 1 pick. Justin Fields made a case to challenge that with that game. We'll see. I think Trevor Lawrence is still going to be the number 1 pick. I think Justin Fields is still going to be – he may still be the 3rd favorite quarterback after that cat from BYU. But that game also kind of a blowout. So let's hope that this national championship between Ohio State and Alabama is a bit more competitive. I think it will be. I think it'll be a great game of football. I think it'll come down to the wire and be one of those classics.
Now, Brik, because me and Ronnie had talked about this. It was Ronnie, just because you're coming back. I asked him what his thoughts were on the first 2 semifinal college playoff games.
Okay.
And me and you had talked about this. He made a valid point. Notre Dame sucks in bowl games, especially the marquee. But what I want everybody to remember is, and we said this for the last 3, 4, 5 weeks of covering college football, want everybody to remember when Dabo Swinney ranked up Ohio State and said, Ohio State didn't play enough games and they were, who have they beaten? Got to remember, everybody in college football lost at least 2 games to COVID situations, including Clemson. That's what he failed to mention. The other part he failed to mention was he didn't want to see Ohio State again. That's why he ranked them 11th. He wanted an easy coast to the championship because he knew Justin Fields and the rest of the Ohio State team was out for blood. But with that being said, I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on what you think is going to happen in the national championship game. Because this is a rematch of the semifinals from the very first college playoff. Very different teams. Same scenario. New head coach with a new team. Ryan Day with Ohio State. Nick Saban being the veteran, expected to win. Lost last time we saw Nick Saban get throttled, which don't happen very often. And Ohio State goes on to coast to a national championship. So what do you see happening this year that may give you the edge to the Buckeyes or give you the edge to Alabama?
Right?
For me, looking at this, I would say this is a game that normally I would be like, okay, the Buckeyes definitely got it in the bag, especially after we saw last week. But
I feel like Saban is just somebody who can't let things go unless he's the one that's victorious. He's going to have them a lot more prepared this time around for sure. And, Adams is going to be a lot for Ohio State secondary to keep up with as well. That boy is nasty. I do feel like, though, it's going to be a lot closer than people expect. I'm not going to say that it's going to be like a blowout by any means from any team. And, of course, these are two programs that are well coached. And, of course, they don't necessarily go out there and be jawing at each other and shout out a bunch of crap on social media. And coaches know to keep their mouth shut. So I feel like it's going to be one of those classic bangers, man, where it comes down to, who's going to control the clock, who's going to be able to run the ball a little bit more, stuff like that. Because of what I'm noticing and because of how Ohio State's had kind of like that chip on their shoulder or that edge, I would say, this season, I'm going to roll with them this time around, but I got them, maybe pulling out by one score, something like that. And it may come down to the wire, I feel like, too. I feel like it'll come down to the last 15 minutes of the game.
Rick, what about you?
I mean, I would have to agree with that. As far as a chip on your shoulder, I think that's what actually carries this Ohio State team. I think that's the difference between them and Clemson is Justin Fields had a chip on his shoulder. He came in as a very overlooked quarterback in comparison to Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, Dabo Swinney rated them 11th, chip on their shoulder, and that, you don't think we're top 10? You don't think we're top 3? You don't think we're top 2? You don't think we're the best team in the country? Let's show you how we really are. And they produce that on the field. When you're talking about Alabama, though, Nick Saban was very wise in his words that he chooses leading up to this game. He's been very cautious in giving Ohio State the respect they deserve. So they need to find that chip elsewhere. And I think they're just going to get that from the talking heads in the football world. People are going to say Alabama has a quarterback and 2 wide receivers that are Heisman finalists. They have an excellent running back. They always have a stacked offensive line. Their defense has 9 potential NFL starters. There's no refuting that Alabama basically has an NFL team out there pretty regularly. With Ohio State, it's kind of hit or miss as far as, is this our championship year or is this not? With Alabama, every year you're pretty much like, yeah, this is a contender. They'll probably be in the national championship. And it's been that way for almost the last decade. This year in particular, I want to roll with Ohio State. My heart tells me Ohio State. My head tells me, and my brain tells me Alabama. And the reason being is Alabama, obviously, all the statistics would back up their talent on the offensive side of the ball. And as far as Justin Fields in Ohio State, he hadn't shown up for major bowl games or big-time games on national television up until that Clemson game. People had written him off. People had said, this guy is not a guy that shows up. And boom, just like that, this guy takes a huge shot. Potentially has broken ribs. I don't know if they've officially confirmed that or not, but I would wager money that that cat has some broken ribs. And just shows out, balls out, carries Ohio State, wins the game. I would like to think that he can carry that momentum, that he still personally has that chip on his shoulder. And as a quarterback with that type of chip, that takes your team to the next level. So I'm going to roll with Ohio State this year.
Okay. As a writer, because I have to write about this tomorrow night, I have to write about this bullshit tonight. I want to make it very clear. I am trying my hardest to be very unbiased about this game, but I'm just going to speak my mind on it. Let's call it what it is. This is a statement game for Ryan Day. Can Ryan Day win a big game against a high-powered team and a high-powered coach? Arguably, Nick Saban is going to go down as the greatest college coach in history with as far as wins are concerned, if he doesn't do anything else. Let's not forget, I want everybody to pay attention to this. Both Ohio State and both Alabama have averaged 42 points a game all season. The thing that scares me is if this game turns into a shootout. If it turns into a shootout, I'm going with Bama because not a lot of teams have kept up. The, the flip side to that is Bama has also given up 38 points a game in some
Mm-hmm.
instances, especially in the conference championship against Florida. The other thing is in that game against Florida, Bama had trouble against the run. Bama had trouble against the play action pass. Those are two
Mm-hmm.
things Justin Fields is very good at. He's underrated about that because everybody just looks at him as a pure passer, but he has a very good play action quarterback. On top of that, when you look at the dynamic, and Brick, you said it that Fields had showed up tonight. Let's not forget in that game against Clemson last year, he made and completed his first 15 passes. Five of those passes were over 20 yards. It was a 16-3 game until that BS call. So I'm honestly rolling with the Buckeyes on this. If the defense shows up like they did against Clemson and forces that quarterback to make bad decisions, they force turnovers. Trey Sermon keeps the hot hand rolling. I'm going with the Buckeyes. If this turns into a shootout, I'm going with Bama. But my heart and my head is telling me the Buckeyes are out for blood. Fields is out for blood. You got snubbed for the Heisman. You got snubbed for, you got snubbed. You avenged a loss that you shouldn't have took last year. So that ghost is buried. You got snubbed for the Heisman this year again. It's looking like this might be a Buckeyes national championship for me. And I'm hoping it turns out this way, but either way, it's going to be an entertaining game. But my heart and my head are telling me the Buckeyes.
That seems like the consensus.
Yeah, man.
Hey, born and bred over here. I might be a Steelers fan on Sunday, but I'm a Buckeyes fan on Saturday.
There you go. You've
And
won some
what's
love
crazy
back from
about
the locals.
I don't care if they love me or hate me. I'm gonna always be a Buckeyes fan before anything. Now, you hate me all you want for the Steelers, but hey, shit, man. When you have when they have your favorite player, who's arguably one of the best DBs ever, in Rod Woodson, can't deny that.
That's true. Madden
No,
95,
so
Rod Woodson, fastest player in the game.
Actually, not only just in '95, in Tecmo Super Bowl on the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, he's also the fastest
Bro.
player.
He was,
wow.
He's faster than Dion.
2 times faster than the next closest guy. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, and the next closest guy
always played with the Steelers because Rod Woodson returned kicks, and I would always plus one to the house.
And now, Ronnie, because we had actually we're trying to figure out the format on this, but we are working on a sports video games episode. And what people don't realize is that on Tecmo Super Bowl on the Nintendo and the one on the Super Nintendo is totally different. The one on the original Nintendo, Bo Jackson is the fastest player. Of course, we all know that.
Mm-hmm.
What they don't tell you is that the second and third fastest players after that are on teams that nobody plays with except for maybe the people who really know. And that's Barry Sanders and Jerry Rice. Now, on the Super Nintendo version of Tecmo Super Bowl, Rod Woodson is by far the fastest player. The second place fastest player behind him is Dion. And they're both returning kicks and playing DB.
Oh, yeah.
Man. And that's a huge boost for Jerry Rice because, the man was a beast at wide receiver, but speed-wise,
Yeah.
And no, and speed wise in real life, yes. Speed wise in Tecmo Bowl, something totally different.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because I'm like, that's a booster, boy. That's a booster.
Oh yeah.
But
That man was the nastiest route runner, but
here's the thing that people don't tell you either, unless you go to like the tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's the top speed for all the players. Well, in Bo Jackson's case, his top speed and the top speed overall was 75.
What?
So that's where they maxed it out. His top speed is at 75. The next closest at that is Barry and Jerry, and they're at 69 apiece.
Damn, that's wild.
Yeah.
man.
So that's what they I had to learn this by actually entering Tecmo Bowl tournaments. I have a friend of mine who runs Cleveland's largest Tecmo Bowl tournament
That's wild.
and has been doing it for 9 years. And that's how I found out. That's how I started learning about this. I'm like, wait, Bo's the fastest player. Barry's right behind him. Jerry is right behind him. How does that even work? And he showed me the
That's
chart.
wild.
Crazy.
And he's like, and he told me to do this. He's like, go home, reset everything, like data reset everything, and then go back and look at everybody's max, all the star players around that time. Look at their max speed. Bo's 75, Barry and Jerry are 69 apiece.
That's wild.
On that one, this is what I had to say today. Because I was so mad, like, because in some instances, in some tournaments, playing with the Raiders is banned. So how do you even go about picking the right team?
Cool.
True.
Oh, I wanted to, because I know I'm gonna get a chance, hopefully, but we're gonna have one of your old coaches on at some point. He was old coach out in Chicago. Shout out to Coach Mike Hohensee. And I'm gonna tell him we had you on the show. I hope he's watching tonight, but if he's not, I'm gonna let him know. But the goal is to have him on the show at some point before football season ends. So just want
There
you
you
to
go.
know that.
Hey, that'd be solid. He's a good dude. That would be
Yeah.
Coach House, right?
No, Hohensee.
Was his nickname House?
I have no idea.
I think it was.
That's
House.
something I can't answer.
I think we called him Coach House. I'm pretty sure. Let me reiterate. I hit my head quite a bit in football.
Well, you were a linebacker, so that's expected.
And
Like,
a linebacker in the Arena League, which is violent and a lot of head trauma. So I
Hey, but
forget.
not
thankfully
only
he's
not
still
only that,
here.
I've told people, and people don't believe me. So hopefully you can back me up on this. But when I tell friends that don't know, I've told people like in the Arena League or any indoor league, everybody is fast, including the linemen.
The whole game is faster. The indoor league is faster than the NFL.
Yeah, because
Fact.
like they don't believe me. It's like, man,
No.
everybody in the NFL is like, no, bro. I know linemen right now at 300 pounds that can run a 4.9. Show me somebody else that can do that at 300 pounds.
The indoor league is stupid fast. That game is purely about speed and violence. It is a dumbed down version of the NFL where you don't have the intricacies of complex play calls. It's very simple defensively and offensively, and it's be more violent and be faster. And that's the bottom line. That's what arena football is. That's why it's entertaining. That's what it is. Straight up.
It sounds like it, yeah, man. Shoot,
Do
I
you
remember.
miss? Go ahead, Ronnie.
No, I was gonna say, like, I remember the inaugural game I went to in '07. Because the problem is, like, during that epic, 17-1 and some of the other seasons following, like, I was already down here in Columbus, man. I had family starting up and everything else, so I didn't get a chance to go as much as I was prior to that. But, them games was awesome. And it just felt good to have, like, a decent team in Cleveland overall, especially in football. So I was like, well, if I can't see it at the NFL level consistently enough, I'm definitely going to support this team for sure. And then, of course, the Indians do whatever they feel like. And the Cavs, like, it's like, do you have LeBron or do you don't? So
Hey, this year they don't look that bad.
Yeah, they look all right this year. I was like, okay, I see what y'all doing.
Andre Drummond, Colin Sexton, Darius
Oh,
Garland,
Drummond's a
Kevin Love.
beast.
Oh, Drummond's a
Yeah,
beast,
Drummond
but
is a
Colin
beast.
Sexton's averaging like 24 games. So
Yeah, he worked on his game in the offseason.
young bull.
Yeah,
That's
so
my
it's
team.
awesome.
I'm a Cavs fan, so
Yeah, they looking pretty dope, man. The last, what were they, 5-4, or
yeah,
6-4 now, or something like
Yep.
that. They're doing okay, man.
they're
It's good to
solid.
see that. So I don't know, but Brian, I gotta ask you too, man. So with regards to like overall with your career, man, and then currently joining the military and whatnot, is there anything that you would have done differently if you had the opportunity to?
Absolutely. I think if somebody says they don't have regrets, then they're not living deep enough and thinking about things correctly. Because
Hmm.
anyone can look at their life and say, man, if I did this differently, things might have panned out better. They may have. You don't know that.
Yeah.
If I could do things over, I would. Am I unhappy with the way things panned out? Absolutely not. But if I could do things differently, I wouldn't have been such a knucklehead in college. I
Hmm.
was a star football player in high school. I explained how I developed in high school and how I was kind of an afterthought freshman and sophomore year, junior year. I
Yeah.
kind of had a breakout. Senior year, I was a star player, and I had scholarship offers. By the handful. I had my choice of schools. I picked Akron. Things didn't pan out there the way I had hoped. I went to Monmouth, and I couldn't keep my head on straight. That's one major thing I would have changed is, should I have transferred? In retrospect, probably not. But okay, let's say I do transfer. Now
Hmm.
that I transfer, could I have had a better mindset and approach toward playing football and being a student athlete at Monmouth University? Absolutely. I think any one of those two scenarios would have led me to a different path as far as getting into the NFL and playing and having a long-term career. And I think things would be much different today had I done one of those two options. And then as far as my career path in the pros, playing in the Arena Football League, playing in Canada, there was a moment in time in Canada where I had a confrontation with the general manager of the Montreal Alouettes, Jim Pop. I was pretty disgruntled because in 2015, the team had signed Michael Sam, very controversial.
Hmm.
He had taken my roster spot because he was a pass rush specialist, much like I am. In Canada, that's the defensive end position. He wound up taking my job on some bullshit. He got cut halfway through the year, and I got re-signed back to the team after he retired. Um, there's a pretty big controversy around that whole debacle, and I would
Yeah.
probably attribute it to why that franchise was ass for a long time. Is that was karma coming back to them. But the most immediate person fucked over by that situation was myself. Um, Coming out of that situation, I probably should have been a bigger person. And in the offseason, I tried to argue for a more lucrative contract.
Hmm.
Um, and basically said fuck you to Jim Pop to release me because I was then headed to the Kansas City Chiefs if I didn't re-sign with the Alouettes. If I hadn't done something like that, my career also probably would have panned out differently. Would I have had a long-standing career in Canada? Maybe. Would I have played a couple years in Canada and then got a better shot in the NFL? Maybe. I don't know. But I did at the moment what I thought was right. And I stood up for
Yeah.
myself, and how it played out is how it played out. So it is what it is.
Right.
Obviously there's things I would change, but you can't go back and change them. I'm happy with how things played out. I enjoy my life now. I have a beautiful wife, two beautiful kids. I'm in the military doing something very cool that not a lot of people can say they get to do. So, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at.
That's
As
good to
long
hear.
as you don't tell us too much about what you're doing in the military, I'm good. 'Cause I don't need nobody coming after me hiding in my bushes.
Yeah, yeah. I don't need no, I don't need no secrets. We don't need to know basis. There you go.
Yeah,
Need
Yeah,
to know
yeah.
basis.
I can't
Yeah,
really disclose. Not to
yeah,
And being
sound
man.
and
cliche or lame, but
and
truthfully,
being that both my parents were in the military, I already know what they do with bodies that you can't find no more. So I don't need to know these things. Don't tell me nothing. Don't tell
don't
me
Right.
nothing.
I
Okay,
won't.
before we go, any road stories that you can actually share with us that are either funny or that you remember that won't get you in trouble.
Any what stories?
Road stories. Going on the road, going to Chicago, going to Arizona, even I'll say even British Columbia there or Toronto. Any of those kind of stories that will not get you in trouble.
I mean, I have a wife now, so most of those stories would get me in trouble. Tinder was very popular in my run in the Arena Football League. There's probably some not safe for work stories. I mean, no. Unfortunately, I don't have any PG-13 stories.
That's cool. That's
if
cool.
you ever put out a more adult, I'm not saying that this is an adult version, but I just don't think it's appropriate given the content. Exactly. Someone said daddy.
Yeah.
My stories are not appropriate for that environment.
No, I definitely respect that, man, because we all married on this show right now. So I
Exactly.
definitely get it. Now, me, I was different. I'm more isolated in the basement, hence the brick behind me and stuff like that. So
That's
I'm closed
smart.
off. I'm good. But yeah, other than that, I ain't trying to get you in trouble.
I appreciate it, man.
I just wanted to know, who was the one that broke curfew? Because I know you, I know DJ, I know Willie Mack. I'm trying to get him on the show too. So Willie, if you're watching, stop avoiding me, man. Come on the show. Stop being so antisocial now.
Me, Willie, and Randy Cowling drank 104 beers in 6 hours.
How, Sway?
Man, whoa.
How? What?
We are amazing drinkers. We also had
Clearly.
one night where we drank something like, I swear to God, like 5 gallons of wine. Us three. And then we
y'all
went
still
to
alive,
karaoke
man.
night. Dude, we were doing that
And
shit
y'all
on like a Tuesday night. It wasn't like a Saturday or a Friday. We were doing that shit on like a Tuesday night and going to practice the next day.
Wow.
Yeah, that shit didn't make sense.
I'm surprised y'all still alive, man. I haven't drank like that since I was 19.
That's youth. That's what that is. That's youth. Okay?
That was my young liver carrying me to the next day.
The stuff we used to drink or eat back then, man, like what? I can't even think about that.
You know what? I was just thinking about that. All the stuff we used to eat, drink, do, the dumb ideas we came up with that could have killed us, and we walked away laughing.
Speaking of which, Mel, I got you on one. I got you. So when we were in two-a-days, right, in high school, I remember I had a different half gallon of juice I would get every day after practice. No, I ain't supposed to be drinking that sugary crap. But I would go right across the street to the Rite Aid right there, across from the Mickey D's, right? And each day it was a different Dairyman's half-gallon juice, 99 cents. You already know it had the tall boy. It was like the blue one, the red one. You had that iced tea, the orange, the green,
The
whatever.
iced tea used to bang.
The iced tea was banging. No one can dispute that. I'm sorry. That was the best one probably. And having that after a two-a-day practice, man, I don't know how I wasn't cramped up or catching Charlie horses or being laid up the next day. Like, Coach, I can't breathe. Coach, I'm dehydrated. I can't keep water, blah, 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 whatever. My salt is off. I mean, I was good. Because I would do all that nonsense and come back the next day like ain't nothing happened. Eating all that fast food.
Hell yeah.
We all used to do that, man. And the crazy part about it was, like, we were, and this is how, I don't know how the younger generation thinks now, but this is how I used to think. Like, we would play, and mind you, I was between JV and varsity. So I would be playing on a Wednesday, try to heal up on Thursday, get ready for Friday. Friday comes around, or Saturday, whichever one. Friday comes around, I'm all right, we cool. Then Sunday, get right back up and go play a street football game like nothing had happened.
I don't understand.
I'm paying for it now.
Yeah,
paying for it now, but still, man, I'm looking back on that now. Like, what the fuck was I thinking? now, you know what? To see how LeBron takes care of his body now, I wish they would have told us to do that. Yes, I wish they would have told us to do that when we were in high school. Because I would have felt a lot like my training methods back then, playing indoor ball, people didn't want to train with me. They thought I was retardedly nuts. Like I used to run this hill in East Cleveland called Grandpappy Hill. And if I could find a picture of it later on, I'm gonna put it in the overlay. So next time I'm gonna show you what it looks like. But when you get to the top of this hill, you could actually see Lake Erie from this hill.
That's dope.
And I remember training one of my friends, well, he was training with me, and I just came off the accident, and I was like, I got to get my body back in shape. My lungs were beat up. So I said, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to Grandpappy, we're going to run 3 times, and we're going to be good. That's going to be our training for the day. We get to the top of the hill, and uh, we start walking down. Now, when you walk down, there's a plateau, and then there's another steep hill. We used to go sledding on this hill. So my friend looks up, and he's like, all right, so we running this and up? I'm like, nah, we're going down again. Like, wait, so this ain't it? I'm like, nah. So how you expect us to run this? Like, we're going to run it up. We're going to come back down slowly. We're going to run it up again, come back down slowly, go one more time, back down, and back up. And we get to the first round, first run. We get up, and he's looking at Lake Erie. And he stops, and he's like, you want me to run this? Like, yeah. Fuck you, man. I'm done. I'll stick to the weight room. Like legitimately, just I ain't gonna say he hurt my feelings, but he legit was like made me feel some type of was like, damn, bro, you came to me. You came to me and was like, I want to train with you. And I told you my training methods are unusual.
That's
Like
awesome.
if you like literally when you see this hill, you just look at it and you be like, why would you even want to run a hill like that? Like, this is what I used to. And, you know, everybody's training methods back then were unusual. I'm pretty sure, Brick,
Oh, for sure.
you had a few.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, he saw that hill. We walked down it. He looked all the way up. We went up once. We only went up once because he left me right after that. Like he legit left me at the park, and I had to take the bus home.
Some of the best
he's
advice
like-
I ever got was if you learn to love the things you hate to do, you will make yourself a better person or a better athlete.
Yeah.
I hated with a passion lifting legs. I learned to love to do it, and I got real good at it, and I got really fucking strong. So, I mean, that's what it's about. You with your hill. You probably hated originally to do that shit, but you started to do it because you're like, this is going to make me a better player. This is going to make me a better athlete. This is going to make me a better person.
Very much so. Oh my gosh.
You
Still
freeze?
there, Mel? So you probably popping on soon, man. Uh-oh. Unless something happened in the game, because here's the thing. I was using my phone to watch the game while I had the laptop up, and then that bad boy died on me. And I left
Yeah,
it
my
forward.
phone is actually about to die too.
So I was like,
All right, well, I'll sign off with you guys. It was a pleasure. I appreciate it, Ronnie, Mel, even though you're frozen right there on the left side of my screen.
Hold on.
There
I
you
was
go.
trying to get that
There you go.
situated. I was trying to fix it. I don't know what happened.
All right.
But really quick story about that hill. We used to actually in Pee Wee run that hill. I was playing for the East Cleveland Chiefs, and every time we lost, that was our punishment. So I became very familiar with that hill. So that hill was not
Damn.
like if we lost, it was one thing to run it. If we lost to a rival, like Sims Raiders, Ronnie, you know, you lost to Sims, you lost to Pal 6. That hill was your best friend the next day. Next day at practice, Monday morning, everybody meet me at Grandpappy. I don't want to go to practice today.
right.
I don't.
People are trying to do that.
That's terrible.
Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. But we never had that many losing seasons either when I was playing. Nobody wanted to run that hill.
That's good motivation.
No, nobody wanted to run that hill. Didn't want to do it. But Brick, is as a pleasure. It was great talking to you always.
I
You're
appreciate
welcome
y'all
back
having me.
anytime.
Definitely.
Uh,
Thanks for coming.
like I said, you're welcome back. Much love. Give the family my love. Tell everybody I said, hey, glad you guys are staying safe. And as far as the military is concerned, thank you for your service. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
If civil war breaks out, I know
No.
nothing. They storm if
There's
they
not going to
storm
be
the
any civil
Capitol
war.
again. If they storm the Capitol again, I know nothing. I wasn't there. Don't call me. Don't call me saying I saw somebody that looked like you. It wasn't me.
Right.
All right, man. I trust you. You ain't
But
gonna do nothing.
hey, I
All
ain't got
right,
no reason to
fellas.
lie.
I
I ain't going
appreciate
nowhere
it.
near.
I
All
I ain't
right,
appreciate
going
it,
man.
nowhere near
fellas.
Washington D.C. All right, bro. Take it easy.
Mel, Ronnie,
Good
thank
meeting
you
you,
guys for
man.
having me. Y'all
You
have a
too,
good
brother.
night.
All right,
I'll talk to you guys
Hey,
you
soon.
take
too.
care.
All right. That was Brian Brikowski, great friend of the show, great friend in real life. You know, I'm not happy about this game. I
You know,
thought
here's
this
the
game was going. I thought this
well.
game was gonna go so much better than it was, man, or than it is. It's bullshit.
The crazy thing about it is, whenever they, for at least for this season. So it's funny. Someone had posted that Cleveland is 6-0 when they have forced 2 turnovers, and they're 11-0 when they win the turnover battle. So it'd be interesting to see if that actually does play out. Because we've seen a scenario before, right? We've seen it where they went up real big against Tennessee.
Yeah,
We saw how that slowly kind of crept back up. Um, we saw this happen again with Dallas. Dallas kind of lost that fire, obviously, but it's very possible that this is one of those teams where, okay, we see they have the offense to throw up some points up really quickly or to be able to at least capitalize on turnovers because the Browns are, I'm not sure if they're number one still, but definitely top three when it comes to scoring off turnovers this season. And that's what's been helping them get that, momentum going and keeping that record that they've had all year, even with them lacking um, the help that they need defensively for a lot of different things. But that's the difference, man. In the turnover battle, that can kind of have a huge influence
yeah.
in the game, obviously. But the thing is, though, of course, there's still some football left, and it is Ben. Maybe he got a little bit of magic in there. You know what I'm saying? I never
Let's
write
hope
that dude
so.
off, man. I never write
Let's
that
hope
dude
so.
off. He could be throwing to, you know, the slowest guy on the field and make that guy still get 100 yards today. So
Right now,
that's what he does, man.
I will say this: as a Steelers fan, looking at this game right now, I'm disappointed that the score looks the way it does.
Mhm.
But as a overall football fan, I think this is fantastic for the league. You have one of the most historic franchises in all of pro football playing in their first playoff game since 2002 and looking damn good, looking very good. And on top of that, this whole entire weekend of football has been nothing short of spectacular.
Very true.
So I'm
Very,
not
very true.
if the Steelers lose, fine. I'll get over my short disappointment. But looking at the bigger picture, this game, this weekend, been great for the league. Even with a shitty commission, it's been great for the league.
Yeah, it has. And I mean, it's just good to be able to see like um, what they've done with this scenario, and then also to see these teams adjust. And even the ones that's kind of like been knocked on the door for a while, the ones that are definitely next man up, or you can kind of see like things swapping around because for a long time you have teams like Pittsburgh, teams like New England, teams like dare I say Saints and Green Bay who've been right there in the thick of that for so long. Even the seasons
Hmm.
when it hasn't been that great, they're still winning 9 games, 8 games, 10 games. They're
Yeah.
not falling into the loser category. So the thing is, they're always going to be right there. And whether it's one or two personnel that they pick up or lose or whatever, they're still contending. But to see, Cleveland doing their thing right now, and then see like the Bills get their first playoff win in 25 years, it's just pretty cool to have that kind of representation. Kansas City, they're hot right now, but they weren't for a while before Mahomes showed up, so it was cool to see that. Um, so yeah, man, it's just exciting. It's just exciting to see that and to be like, okay, we know it's not going to be the same rotation of 6 or 7 teams every year. Kind of like how you see in
Right.
the NBA, and you're just like, all right, if it ain't this team, it's this team, or if it's not this team, it's another team. Where with the NFL, even during a COVID year, it just shows you that things could definitely flip the script really quick.
Hmm.
And I feel like a lot of players are more refreshed, even though there weren't like any OTAs and they didn't have preseason and stuff like that. And with them moving into a 17 game season next year, it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. So, I'm all for it, man. I feel like it definitely helped a lot of people out. And like you said earlier in the show, if Stefanski don't get coach of the year with all the different
Oh
scenarios
man,
and
it's
circumstances
something
that
wrong.
every team went through and him to be a rookie head coach, this is his first head coaching gig in the NFL. Like,
It's some if he
this
don't
is
get it,
crazy.
it's something wrong with. If honestly, if I had a vote, it would have been for Stefanski. But since we ain't that popular with the media, then our vote don't count. But to be honest, if he don't get it, it's something wrong with the league's voting and the league's criteria. Because how do you overlook a guy who's one one of the best offensive minds in pro football? And number two, he took a job once again nobody wanted outside of a paycheck. He took a job nobody wanted and made it work. Not only did he make it work, this is a 1 year turnaround. He turned this team around in one season and one shitty season to be precise because we
He didn't
did
get a
not
full
know
off
COVID.
season.
Yeah, we didn't get a full off season. We did not know COVID was going to fuck up everything the way that it has. And look where he's at. He's in the playoffs. He's got an 11-5 team, and they're kicking their rivals' ass right now in the playoffs.
And he
How do
not
you
even
beat
there.
that?
And he not even
Right,
there. He at
right.
home watching the game.
Watching.
He at home.
He probably
He at,
he probably got he probably got a cell phone coaching from the couch or something.
he like
Like
old boy on Remember the Titans. He's like old boy from the Titans when he was sitting in the hospital bed.
Oh, do
Mhm.
not come in here.
Yep, that's
Gary
how he is
Gary
right now.
Bertier throwing Gary Bertier throwing a book at the nurses.
It's crazy because the thing is like going to the game, man. I ain't gonna lie, like I was happy to see the 3 players that got activated back from the list. That was pretty dope. I also saw tonight too that they had a really good rotation going because they got Harrison all over the place. So I'm thinking
Yeah,
what they ended up doing was they may have said, you know what? We knew when we first brought you in, you didn't know the playbook much, but today's your day to shine. So we can't afford to just be having Zendaya all over the place tonight. We can't do that. So it's been pretty much him and Joseph, doing their thing. And then on top of that,
oh man.
I feel like with this game, when Stefanski was out and seeing Callahan out and what he's done with that offensive line and the running game, I was like, ooh, that's going to be kind of a weird point because him making those adjustments mid game and trying to figure out what to
Why
do with
would you
everything.
go for it? Take the
So,
points. It's still 3 minutes in the quarter, man. Take the points.
oh,
Like,
yeah, you can't be giving no freebies, not like
uh,
that. You got to take what you can get. Trust your
okay, I'll
defense.
take that. I'll take that. I'll take that. Pittsburgh just scored a touchdown,
Mm,
and Ben Roethlisberger is a 12-play drive. It's now 35-22, pending the extra point. I don't know if they're going to go for one or two, but pending the extra points, 35-22 Browns. Uh, it's looking like a game now. Looking
See,
like a
that's the
game.
difference. And I've always been saying this too. Like the Browns is their best quarters this year have been the first quarter and the fourth quarter. Second quarter has been a little sporadic. Third quarter has been trash all year. Um, so it'd be interesting to see what that looks like. and they've actually fared better in the fourth quarter when they're behind. When they're in the lead, though, it's
It's
like
scary.
it's very scary. You know what I mean? But when they're behind, it's like they're like, "Oh, we got to figure this out. We got to pull it out." It's like have that mentality every game. Don't be behind. Like just be on top and stay on top. Like that's something that the
Yeah,
team has to learn. That's like their biggest opportunity right now, basically. But we'll see what happens. I told people like I've been posting stuff and all of that. I've been seeing kind of scrolling through. I ain't saying nothing till 0, 0, 0, 0 go on that clock, man. I ain't saying nothing.
right,
I ain't saying
right.
nothing.
And I've
So,
been trying to be fair about this. So,
you know,
but we'll see what happens after the game.
definitely.
All right, all right, all right, Squeak, I got you. Clearly, my son wants to be in on the action. So say hi to the people. You on TV? Well, knucklehead.
Man.
But yeah, we are. For those who are watching, we are working on our New Year's strategy. We got some new episodes coming up, and we will be, taking our show to a new type of dimension, sports wise, with basketball, baseball coming up. But we wanted to make sure we get football coming in because college football season ends tomorrow night,
Mm-hmm.
and the playoffs are still going on, so that is a big focus for us. But we will be checking in with the basketball and the baseball because spring training will be starting up next month.
Oh, yeah. Stay tuned for that.
And as we all know, the Indians have had a lot of things going on that we need to talk about.
Man,
Boy,
we're
oh
gonna have to
boy.
table that because oh Lord,
Yeah,
ooh,
yeah,
so
yeah.
much.
We're gonna table that discussion. But
That's gonna steal my momentum right now with this game. If I keep thinking about that. Gonna kill me, Mel. You're gonna kill me.
I I'm sorry, man, but we're a sports show. We have to cover all sports.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
for our viewers, we will be starting within the next couple of weeks. We will be having a couple of sports game episodes. So any sports video games you guys would like us to review and give our thoughts about, don't be afraid to comment on the post because we will be making a post about it on our
Hmm.
fan page. So don't be afraid to comment on the sports game you want us to review. We have our own personals that we will be airing on the episode, but if you have one you want us to specifically review and is near and dear to your heart, don't be afraid to let us know. I will tell you right now, and this is coming from me being honest. If the game I feel that you recommend, if I feel it sucks, I'm gonna tell you, and then I'm gonna tell you why it sucks. And we all have our our experiences with these games. I got a few that I'm gonna say that are terrible. It should be burned. I'm gonna table that for those episodes.
Oh
But
yeah.
if you want us to talk about your game, let us know. Send us a comment. Send us a message. We got you. Um, we are working on again Mike Hohensee as a guest on our show. For those that don't know, Mike Hohensee is the first quarterback to throw a touchdown pass in the Arena Football League. He was also a member of the USFL, a league that our president partially owned. Well, we see how that went. But
Hmm.
he's still a well respected coach. He's a good person. I've met him a couple times. Great guy. So we'll have him on at some point. We got guests, we got sports. We gonna be all right. I know
Oh
it's a
yeah.
pandemic still. You know, everybody's still locked up somewhat. We got y'all covered. So stick with us. All right, that concludes our episode of 4th and 15. We'd like to thank Brian Brikowski again for being a guest on our show. Smooth, you got anything?
Not a whole lot, man. Just guys, make sure y'all tune in, I should say, to that game tomorrow. Bucks. We got them, and we got the Crimson Tide going at it. It should be very exciting. I'm definitely thinking this is one that the Buckeyes can pull out. I think it's something that is definitely needed, especially during this year, to see them return to that glory, man. So. hopefully they can ride with them and pull through and get the W. But other than that, man, y'all stay safe out there for
Please.
sure. You know, kiss your loved ones, man, and just hold them tight and do what you got to do to make this pass, man.
Indeed. All right. For 4th and 15, I'm Mill. That's Smooth. Peace.
Peace.